Welcome back, everyone. The day continues on, now heading into the Florida Mayhem, taking on the LA Valiant, a matchup that really has a lot at stake for both teams. They look to solidify their playoff positionings. CP here with Jake, and Jake, good to have you back.
Yeah, excited to be here. I think this is going to be actually potentially a bit more interesting than usual, especially, you think about how important Shaq's Tracer has been to the Valiant, especially on these control maps. That's a place where I think the Valiant, they're going to need to adapt to the circumstance. However, I do think they have some other pretty dangerous tools. And obviously first in the forefront of my mind, and probably everyone's mind, is KSP on these core hit scans, right? Nothing blocked out of the pool, at least the heroes that he's incredibly dominant on.
Now, looking a little bit to the past, recent history here for the Mayhem, they did secure their top 4 spot with a sweep over Vancouver just on Friday. So, it gets the entire idea of, hey, can you adapt to a new hero pool? Well, the Mayhem, they seem to be loaded for bear. Didn't really trouble them against Vancouver.
No, so I think the Florida Mayhem, they're a team that I think has just been incredibly dominant in the long haul. And where Yaki has had great performances on the May is something I think about in his hero pool. Of course, like the Genji, he had great stuff there too. But the May is where I think he's actually like best of the best, really is at top tier performance. So in many ways, this may actually be a buff to the Florida Mayhem, that they're able to play a slower style composition and play it quickly, like despite the nature of the strategy.
And take a look at the starting lineup here. This is what the Mayhem have been running with for quite a while now. And we've really hit the point in the season, Jake, where, yeah, some teams will do more swap-ups than others, i.e. the Shock or the Fusion. But for a lot of the teams in the league, they've kind of narrowed it down to a core 6 with maybe 1 or 2 swaps here and there.
True. And I think, for the Florida Mayhem, there's a reason, right? There's a tried and true strategy, tried and true roster that has the flexibility to play any composition you'd like. Whether it's Yaki or BQB, and being able to fill the DPS role really well. You've got Fade, who can, pretty comfortably play all the main tanks. So you're looking at a pretty solid roster here, and there's a reason this team is top 4.
And part of that is the versatility, right? You look at Yaki coming in on the Echo. The stats there kind of speak for themselves. And Echo's an interesting hero, Jake, where, of course, very new hero to the game overall. Was played a lot when it first came out in the Overwatch League. Kind of tailed off for a while. Now it's back. But you see the versatility in progress here as the Mayhem go, yeah, we're going to incorporate that hero, and we're going to do it pretty well.
Yeah, when you look at these stat lines too, what to me is most exciting about these stat lines, I care most about the solo kills and the deaths. Because we think about the nature of Echo, right? It's this incredible glass cannon hero. It's almost in the nature of the hero to die a lot, to lose your life. But if you're just staying alive, as long as Yaki is, that's how you're building up these ultimates so quickly. I mean, he's had some pretty ridiculous highlights on this hero, showing a lot of confidence when he copies a tank, which is generally the common copy here. We'll see if this is the direction Florida look to go in this current patch, or in this current hero pool. We've seen some teams utilize the Echo as a replacement for other flankers like Tracer and Genji. Other teams have just gone away entirely from the flanker style, or, stuck with a Sombra plus a backline hit scan DPS. So I think Florida, they've got other options open here.
Well, speaking of flanker styles, it does bring us to our connection segment presented by Xfinity. And you want to talk about a team that's really connected to certain heroes. Look at the Valiant with Genji and Tracer historically. Those heroes both out of the pool. How do you expect the Valiant to adapt, given that they do like running those heroes quite a bit?
Well, if anything, I think this hurts Shax more than anyone else. But, this is the power of having that triplet DPS roster where you can just sub in any 2 of the 3, and you've got a very confident, comfortable lineup that you have a lot of experience with. These not like fresh players stage time. There's no worries about how they're going to perform. So I think maybe we won't see as much Shax this series with Tracer out of the pool, but you've still got KSF and KSP, 2 deadly damage players with their names starting with KS, which is, of course, a critical synergy between these 2.
A terrible synergy for casters on that note, where you're just like, KSP, KSF, KSP, KSF. But speaking of the P side of things here, we got KSP stats up here on Ash, and, even though we talk a lot about the Genji Tracer, you see the stats in front of you and go, oh, actually KSP single shot hit scan, totally fine.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is what I think of when I think of KSP. I mean, he's got the flexibility to play flankers, but if anything, that's the bigger surprise from this guy, because what we've seen, the most ridiculous, incredible performances on him have come out, on these heroes: Widowmaker, Ashe, McCree, in that order, I would say. But just any of those backline hit scans, he's going to be dominant on. So the fact that he has the flexibility and his team has the confidence in him to send him out on Echo and Genji and Tracer in some matches, just really, I think, emphasizes what an incredibly talented player he is, and why he's somebody that I think everyone in the Overwatch League has their eyes on for the future. I think he's definitely one of the quickest rising stars in the league.
When we take a look at the Valiant starting six, same theme here. We talk about teams locking it down. The Valiant did swap things up a little bit more earlier in the season, where you'd see players like Gig come in for Dreamer, but now the Valiant locking it down to a degree, and it makes sense, especially look at the DPS. You look at where this team has had success. I think this is probably their strongest lineup, and it doesn't surprise me to see it here again today.
Yeah, and for me, the support line of Lastro and Rain is just so rock solid. Whatever they play, whether it's a brig-based composition that enables Rain to shine a little bit more, or whatever comp you want to run, really, these two can handle it. And I think where a lot of teams have had to swap their supports to, be able to fill for Lucio or be able to play Bap and Zen, I think this is a team that doesn't have to worry about that. And that gives you that consistency in the back line that is going to contribute to your calling consistency. And it makes everyone else's job on the team a lot easier, just knowing that your supports are always going to be able to have that synergy with their ultimates that, of all roles, I think is most critical on support, where your supports work together without overlapping their ultimates. They use them at the right moments relative to one another. It's so critical. So the fact that they can build and expand on that synergy over time, I think makes this team a real contender.
Now, one of the cool things I've been seeing meta-wise, especially over the last few days, is that, it's not all figured out for this particular hero pool here, Jake. Teams have been changing things up a lot, and you look at what the teams are showing us right now, we'll see if it's final, but a pretty big disparity between what the Mayhem might be running out with here and the Valiant.
Well, this is the joy of hero pools. I mean, this is why I'm so excited about seeing this trend come into the Overwatch League, because what it means is that teams are forced to adapt, forced to try new things. And, generally you only find that stable meta through weeks, months of consistent experimentation to find what is really optimal. However, as you say that, we see a mirror match coming out here. So maybe there has been a little bit more stability here. It's going to be BQB versus KSF, I think. Boosted Ash duel, very explosive. It can go down in one shot either way.
BQB striking first there, putting KSP pretty low, but the heals there immediately. KSP finds Yaki super early now. Sombra pressure off the table, but Mayhem respond. They get rid of Rain super early. Yaki's back up, and just like that, it immediately flips, and it's the Valiant on the back foot.
That's such a massive pick-off on the enemy Mercy, so no res can come through, and Yaki managed to die in a safe enough spot to get res. So while the first pick did come in for the Valiant, that's the power of Mercy, right? And why it's so critical that that hero survive when you're trying to go for a long team fight. And if anything, that was Florida's initial positioning on the mid fight that gave them that ability to res in a safe corner, right? It's only because Florida controlled that space that the res could come in. So great teamwork by the Florida Mayhem to get that fight win. And the Valiant now on the back foot, gonna have to recontest. And this is really painful. McGravy gonna have to swap to get mech back. KSP killed and then res at least, so the push should come in relatively quick now for the Valiant.
Yeah, I mean, the problem for them, they're not gonna have the res available, but okay, you got BQB down. If they deny the res, they don't. Still back to 6v6 with the res game evened up. Fate, Nano to the back, immediately gets on Rain. Yaki cleaning up the rest, and the Mayhem just being very aggressive here and having it work out.
I don't always say this about Winston, but that was some clean tracking from Fate. Clean tracking, didn't miss a single tick of the left click, which and some of those kills, that makes all the difference, right? You give Lastro 0.1 more seconds there to heal his buddy, he's gonna be living. So it definitely makes a huge deal, and a cleanup like this with just the nano boost is a dream scenario when you're playing this mirror match. It is a very strong ultimate, but winning with just the nano, it's ideal.
So the Mayhem at 56%. The Valiant yet to get control. Gonna try and change that now. EMP though comes out early, hits KSF. KSF was about to get EMP, doesn't get the opportunity. Fate's gonna drop the Primal head to the back, and the disruption is real. The Valiant, they're gonna have one more attempt at this now, Jake.
Yeah, it's going to be a reset here. KSP does find BQB. That could be an opening. Not sure if Rez is online with Fate as well. Dropping low. Okay, Rez is up, so BQB will be back in the fight. However, Valk plus EMP, very potent combo. You got damage to sustain. You can shut off the enemy abilities. Here's the nice EMP from KSF, and it just completely shuts down the backline with the help of McGravy.
Yeah, McGravy cleaning up the EMP, setting the way, and KSF right now getting some good cleanup, good build towards another EMP. So the Valiant should be able to get the flip here. The problem is, Jake, it's a classic control issue where, all right, you got control, but you have to go from 0 to 100, and that's tough.
Yeah, definitely. Although Rain managed to hold on to the Valkyrie, so they've got one key tool to use in this next team fight. Yaki, though, he's been so quick building up that next EMP, and I wonder, will the Valiant be anticipating this? I think that could be the sort of explosive combo that you're just not ready for. A player like Yaki, so consistent with his track, and he has that ult online. And Valiant take a relatively passive position on the back of point. So Florida already through the choke.
Fate slept. That's great. Now he gets woken up a little bit into that. Dreamer under real pressure ends up falling. 5v5 between both teams. Fate looking for a little bit of healing, a little bit of repositioning. Meanwhile, you look at the rest of the Mayhem, the EMP is good to go, and Yaki just gonna wait, but the problem is Fate got chased down, Jake. He was never able to get back to the rest of his team, and now this fight a little bit more dicey for the Mayhem.
Yeah, BQB finds one, but it is traded, so KSP has the opportunity to really clean this fight up. Mayhem's Bob is on point. Yaki's gonna full commit now with the EMP. This is all in from the Florida Mayhem, but it looks like it might just be enough. Gargoyle's so strong on the point. BQB rezzed on the high ground, and self-destruct available, so this has got to be the round now for the Florida Mayhem.
Yeah, the Valiant. I don't think they were expecting the Mayhem to commit there. I mean, the Mayhem didn't have to commit there, but they saw an opportunity. They went for it. They got a quick limb off the EMP, and now the Valiant struggling to delay, look for the miracle. It's Dreamer on the point now, nanoed, but this is going to be a hard ask for the Valiant to actually bring this one back.
Yeah, you're pretty much in stall mode here. Florida not prioritizing the point. They just want to get the cleanup kills, which is the way you guarantee this round. So a great play from the Florida Mayhem, exactly how you do want to be playing out this scenario. And I think you're exactly right, CP. That's the mark of a top team. That's where we've seen the top teams in the Overwatch League find their little edges, is those fights where even as a caster, seeing the bigger overview of the battlefield, I'm not sure the fight is winnable. But Florida has that confidence. You know, they see it as you know, still an engagement that they can win. Yaki finds a good EMP. And the fact that they win that team fight, you know, things could have gone from bad to worse had you had to actually get a reset there. You know, maybe you get just picked off by KSP on your entry despite your ultimate. So the fact that the fight has already begun is reason enough to commit, to keep it going. And despite talking about the meta not being stable, looks pretty stable to me right now, ZP.
Yeah, we get into that going at previous games, going, there's so much variety. The Valiant and Mayhem might have been in the same scrim circles, is what I'm thinking right now, Jake. We'll see if we get a little bit of a difference as the matchup goes on. But no, both teams swapping the Widow at the same time. We'll see who gets the better of whom.
And this is really, I think, KSP's best hero. This is where I really think of him as a superstar. BQB, definitely no stranger to the hit scan himself, so wouldn't expect this to be easy. Already pressure coming in from KSF, though.
BQB super low, gets the peel, though. Ends up getting healed, and while it was going on, Dreamer fell in the frontline battle, so the Mayhem don't really have to worry about a lot here. So long as they don't get caught by KSP, who doesn't have the greatest angles, they're fine to hold until the frontline of the Valiant comes back.
Yeah, that's rough. Dreamer just got rolled over, and on Orisa, no less. That's a pretty rare first pick to see. I think the drone was just a little bit late from Rain, and you have to imagine the burst was just a little too effective from Florida Mayhem. Maybe Yaki, instead of focusing KSF the way, or rather KSP the way KSF did, Yaki instead goes for the frontline trade and ends up being really valuable.
The Mayhem off on a flank here, particularly BQB, looking for the Widow angle. One good way to shut down a push, and finds it. KSP losing the Widow battle there, and just like that, the Mayhem in a good spot. Even though they get low, the healing's all there, Jake, so the Valiant's opportunity not as clean as it could have been. They find Chris, though, and they're still keeping this in contest. The problem is they lost too much too early.
Yeah, the price of losing your Widow, it really takes some of the potency out of your strategy because, you know, no longer does the opposing team just have to be worried about you. When you don't have a Widowmaker, your tanks can play a lot more aggressive. Your Orisa can just shoot. She doesn't have to worry about, you know, not shooting so that she can more effectively dodge headshots. So your overall damage output is liable to be a lot more consistent, and not to mention, of course, BQB at that point is completely free. So at this point, I mean, Florida in total control of the series. Yaki has an early EMP. Let's see if he elects to go for it off the bat, although both teams have EMP, so we could see an EMP canceled here. That would be a massive swing.
If the Mayhem win this and the Valiant lose EMP, just stick a fork in this map because it's probably done. The Sombra interaction here is so crucially important. And we'll see how this one pans out. EMP first up from KSF. Hits Gangnam Jin in the back, but they're not able to finish it. Able to get away from the pressure. Yaki still holding on to his EMP. McGravy under pressure falls to the flux. And the Mayhem in a great spot. They drop the EMP later into the fight. They take down Dreamer and even down Fate. The Valiant, they're pushed back, but they have to keep contesting. Jake, it's 95%.
That's a massive pick from KSP. However, Gangnam Jin, he's still holding on to this Transcendence, so we could see the the Mayhem elect to commit. But it looks like KSP may be getting a little too much done. Points still in control, so this is a close one. One pick could really swing it.
KSP needs to continue to hit these headshots. It's done work so far, but the team needs more. Gonna get forced out for now. Fate, though, getting caught out on the Hammond. Not too bad here for the Valiant. They're cleaning up the Mayhem as they stagger in. And, you know, for the Mayhem, at some point, when do you stop staggering in here? You're at 99%. You're not gaining anything else from the extra delay.
Yeah, the worry now, though, for the Valiant is, oh, that pick is so crucial from Yaki. That's going to open up the recontest just wide open here. And Dreamer as well is on the Hammond, so you need to be very aggressive right now if you're the Valiant. Once the Florida Mayhem make it to point, if everyone's alive, the fight is almost already lost at this point. Dreamer, he's going to struggle now because you can bet Yaki is just going to be focusing him 24/7 with those hacks.
Yeah, also just being stuck in the Hammond in the situation where, I mean, that's just something born out of necessity, and now just, well, you're stuck on it. We'll see how it pans out. The Valiant cannot lose a single fight here, or that's going to be the map. Dreamer hanging in the back, going for the initiation, up and over, and no pile driver, just a little bit of a distraction, and 213 HP. That's what he had to do now. Sees the open Orisa, had an opportunity. Orisa just barely able to get away. His fate just dancing with death right now, Jake. And Florida gets the flip.
Orisa is just so good in this situation. You wouldn't rather have any hero taking that tango with death. But as I say that, few picks come in for McGravy, so it looks like Valiant are clutching this fight. No, Amplification Matrix committed by Chris. Once again, the Mayhem go all in a questionable scenario, but it might just pay off unless KSP has something to say about it.
KSP continues to be the rock here. Still needs a bit more. 28 HP, not a great spot to be. Finishes off the Sigma, gets the support, and the Valiant, Jake, still in this 42%. They've been weathering the storm, but an EMP is heading at them. How do they play this next fight?
Yeah, they've weathered the storm thus far, but at what cost, really? I mean, you've got that minefield. However, Gangnam Jin, he's so close to that Transcendence. Yaki's sitting on an EMP, and he scouts absolutely everything here, so the Widow has been located. BQB is going to pop the Infra site soon, and that's just going to give them the ideal setup, make KSF retreat back to his backline, and it's just such a difficult fight here. How do you survive this EMP from Yaki? This is just a game ender.
Well, and already Lastro just gets deleted. The Sombra special versus Zen, every Zen's nightmare. It gives the Mayhem a quick 6-on-5, and they're looking to snowball. KSF already down. And it's just an easy engage for the Mayhem here, Jake, and why EMP is so hard to deal with.
Yaki's tracking is just so good. Not only does he insta-pop the Zen, but he just rolled up on an AD in Batiste and just, absolutely no fear, no teleporting out of that one for Yaki. So that's going to secure the map. Beautiful work by the Florida Mayhem. It was some nice attempts by the Valiant, but the fact that they were forced to give up point control in the previous fight, so they didn't really make much progress back into the round, and the fact that Florida was just so consistent on these mid fights, I think that's what does it for them. That's just really impactful on these control map types. If you win the mid fight, you set yourself up so well to win the overall round. Playing from that defensive position, it's just a natural advantage, and as well being able to stay on the Orisa comp because you have that 99% control. So beautiful work by the Mayhem. They go up 1-0 in the series, and this is maybe some of Valiant's cough troubles that I was worried about. Without Shax on the Tracer, it's definitely where I think he's most valuable is on the control map, where that Tracer can really shine.
Yeah, and I mean, on the same note, we saw some good performances out of KSP, but, we'll leave that to when we come back. Can the Valiant turn this one around as we head into our next map? Find out and see.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Taking a look at all of it, Jake, we talked about in the connection segment about the idea that the Valiant would have to adapt to not being able to use Genji and Tracer, right? Like that was an adaptation that they were going to need to do. And going into it, we saw KSP go over to the Widow, but the Valiant were lacking a little bit of the energy. And how much do you think this hero pool is impacting the Valiant now?
Well, they played mirror match right the whole way through, so you can't really look at this as a strategic mismatch here. I think just the way the comps broke down was more favorable to the Mayhem. They had better execution, frankly. Like think about the two moments that really stood out to me are, when KSF goes for that EMP trying to insta burst the enemy Zen. Mayhem are just a little bit too quick to save him. And part of that comes from winning the mid fight, right? It's a little bit easier to protect your Zen when he's in that safe location in the dojo room, right? Just staying alive, playing behind his Batiste, body blocking for him, and just buys him that extra 1 second to get the heals on the Zen. And, that's the difference between, surviving and getting the double kill. And that's exactly right. When you look at Yaki, it goes exactly the other way. Instantly bursts the Zen, he TPs out, comes right back in, hacks the Batiste, picks up the other support kill. And, at that point, you're getting 2 for 1 in the EMP, and those are really just solo kills by Yaki. He's not really getting assistance there. So the execution was just those inches cleaner, and it really does come down in these comps. The reality is that it comes down to just a 1/10 of a second, right? How much time does it take to burst the enemy Zen through 50 HP? Not a whole lot, and you don't have much reaction time there available on Batiste.
Now we're heading into Numbani, next map. Neither team going for any substitutions whatsoever. So I can't imagine we're going to be seeing a ton of changes hero-wise, but you're looking at the Valiant right now, how map 1 went down. What are you looking to shore up relative to what we just saw?
Well, I think what it is going to come down to is execution. If you're going to be finding yourself in a consistent mirror match, you just need to play it a little bit tighter. I think KSP had some good moments on Widow, but the mid fights went BQB's way, I think, both rounds. Just that initial opening pick. And, even though in many cases it's getting resurrected, like in the first round, but, BQB, the fact that he's winning those mid fights, and whether the first round it's actually him on the Ashe, and the second round it's the tank line with the help of Yaki bursting down Dreamer on Orisa. Like you just can't be losing mid fights like that on control. However, as we go to Numbani, I think that is going to be a welcome change of pace here for the Los Angeles side. The fact that they can rely more on defender's advantage or playing as an attacker. You're not in this identical mirrored position where the micro details of your execution make all the difference. Now it is a little bit more of a strategic map where, as a defender, you play a certain way, as an attacker, you play another way. So it's going to shake things up, less of that raw mirror match, which hopefully could be good now for the Los Angeles Valiant. But Florida's been really clean this whole time. So I don't feel like they're going to let off the gas. I think it's going to be more on Valiant to step it up.
Jake, I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed. There's no Bastion being shown here by either team. I mean, it came out yesterday in Numbani. It was glorious. And I just feel like my expectations have been completely shattered.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty great map, actually, for the Bastion sim strat. As we see Florida rolling out with a Roadhog. Nope, just checking for a Sombra, going for the 1 in a million play. I respect it, Gargoyle. I love when people do that. Some days it's going to work. I don't think I've ever seen that work, but someday it will. KSF, though, is slept. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
That was an immediate 5v6 for the Mayhem. Another first pick. However, it's not over yet. Still a hard point to crack, especially with KSP on the high ground.
I think the problem here is that the Valiant are incentivized now to back out and give a lot of territory for free. They want to still fight at 6. They can, but it comes at cost. No, it just gets worse. Rain picked off early by the Mayhem and losing the Mercy. The one player that is not rezzing herself.
Yeah, another instant pick by BQB. Just so clean on this Ashe. You give him the damage boost with total confidence. Yaki farming a little bit of EMP on McGravy. And, oh, that's so painful for the Valiant. First point in Numbani is a place you think you might be able to full hold. So to lose in one fight, and it's not even really a fight, it doesn't really get much worse than that.
No, and I mean, oh, that's sick. The sleep to the back. I mean, arguably KSF lingered a little bit there, but still hard to predict. And, I mean, going to the other point, though, Jake, you're in point B. I mean, point B isn't really known for teams having huge holds. It usually goes to C.
No, if you're the Valiant, I think you're looking to try to stabilize here. One bright spot is that they have a very big lead on Nano Boost because they didn't deal much damage. So Lastro going to be able to Nano Dreamer in, and that actually could play to their strengths here. Yaki has EMP, but he needs to find all the members of the Valiant or else the Nano's going to protect them.
EMP comes out and Dreamer immediately dunked. I mean, same with Fade, so technically a 5-on-5, but I think the Valiant were looking for the big Nano. Instead, they changed the Nano target. They put it on the KSF, and all right, Nano Sombra a little terrifying, but not quite as much as Winston, as we just see.
Yeah, it's pretty painful there. You saw that Lastro wanted to counter EMP by nanoing Dreamer. He was looking for it. The burst was just too quick for the Mayhem, and that's where that sharpness of execution really comes into play.
Bob coming out here from the Valiant, a little bit of extra stall, but there's Fate getting the Nano, heading on in. Still gets chunked low pretty early on. Not quite close enough to the Primal to just dive on in. So spends a lot of this Nano up top, but it's a lot of aggression coming in from them, a lot of pressure. They get KSF again.
EMP shut down. BKB's just too good. How do you stop this guy? Well, McGravy, maybe he's the answer.
Yeah, he looked to McGravy. He looked to your off tank, McGravy. All right, a little bit of showboating as the mech ends up falling. But the problem is they are still applying tons of pressure here. Respawns are coming back in soon, and the Valiant just barely hanging on right now.
What I'm watching right now is McGravy. He needs to get his mech suit back before the next initiation comes in. If he gets EMP'd in the Baby Diva form, there's pretty much no chance of him getting back into the suit. You can see Florida, they want to press this issue. McGravy, oh, he managed to get back in the suit. The bull takes get EMP'd. Oh, and the suit was actually canceled. So close for McGravy, but not good enough.
Not at all. Mayhem found the right window, the head in, and oh, this could be tragic here, Jake. You don't want to get staggered as you set up your point C defense. You don't want to give up that corner for free.
I think the Valiant are going to be able to get back into the spawn here. Ana and Mercy healing each other is a potent combo. You really need burst damage to do that, and you know BQB is going to be the slowest hero on the team moving up. Just the nature of Ashe here, so a little bit of momentary respite. KSP finds an opening, but this pick on the Lastro I think is just more valuable, and man, they aren't slowing down for anything here.
Lastro also had the Nano, so Dreamer having to go in just the Primal, not electrified at all. And the Valiant are just getting crushed in the neutral game right now. Mayhem taking a very aggressive position. The payload on its final turn. And this is getting worse before it gets better. Dreamer does get the Nano. Ready to go in. The Valiant
can't jump in. Oh, he gets it though.
Ideal, but okay. Gets Gargoyle, and I think the man will back out a little bit here, but the Valiant are just struggling to really get their footing.
Yeah, and the pick just gets res. Now 2 more picks going the way of the Mayhem. Self-destruct does find Fate, but EMP on 4 as well. The Gravitic Flux picking up, I believe, the backline there. It's Lastro. BQB finds one, and no, they're not on the payload. CP, why?
Because it was chaotic for about a whole 2 minutes in a row, and the Mayhem just don't let up the pressure. I mean, that's the thing that was unbelievable to me as I'm watching all that, right? Where, you know, some teams are more prone to resetting than others, Jake, and, you know, you saw that a lot as your time as a pro player, but, you know, the Mayhem, I think the term that comes to mind is winnable. Everything is winnable to these guys.
Definitely. The fact that they're staying in these contentious fights and finding the openings, I think back to second point when, you know, even though McGravy had a huge clutch there, the fact that he was demeched at the end of the fight and couldn't manage to get too much mech charge ended up being the difference maker. And here, KSF went for it on half HP, but, I mean, BQB, he's just too sharp to let a play like that through. That is a really painful moment on Sombra. Whenever you die, and, you know, sometimes it's pretty bad when your EMP just gets stun canceled, but when you actually die and lose the EMP, it doesn't even get off. It's hard to recover from that, frankly, ZP. I mean, that's a complete reset on your Sombra's ultimate charge. She has no standing in the map anymore. You know, it's just a little bit too much, I think, to recover from. And, you know, I understand why KSF feels the pressure to make that play. It is a difficult fight, but with BQB making plays like that, gosh, it's hard to think how you're going to be able to beat this team. With everyone else being so aggressive, it's like, how could you even be worried about BQB and Chris in the back line just pumping out the damage? You're being dived 24/7 by the front line, and that's just the power of Fate and Yaki working together with Gangnam Jin.
I mean, the Mayhem are looking very, very complete at the moment. Dreamer eats the early Bionade, ends up getting chunked a little bit. I mean, I don't think the Mayhem are going to commit on that, but you just see the pressure that the Mayhem put on the neutral game over and over again.
Yeah, Lastro charging a bit of nano boost, little silver lining there. However, Yaki's EMP is definitely a real worry spot here, especially look how aggressive BQB is. Absolutely no fear on this high ground. He is going to be giving a little bit of respect, though, as...
Oh, KSP!
Oh my word, that is deadly. Give me another one, KSP. One for the road. There's another one.
I'm taking the objective.
Oh man, just when you think there's gonna be a fight, there's no fight at all. KSP just ends it immediately. And if the Valiant were going to make Numbani to a competitive map, that's exactly what needed to transpire. And even KSF dying there doesn't matter too much.
I mean, that's just sicko mode from KSP. I mean, it just instant two-taps the combo of all picks you could possibly get. Instant two-tapping the combo. Even follows up with a headshot onto KSF, or sorry, Yaki, that forces him to DP out. There's another one from KSP. I think he's really feeling himself now. Maybe the Florida Mayhem are not as confident as I would have thought, because KSP is really putting the screws to him now.
Yeah, I'm not even sure it's a matter of confidence here. I just think KSP is hitting shots at tough angles over and over again. And I just think there's a point, Jake, where you tip your hat and you go, well done. Now the Valiant, they drop the nano on the Dreamer. They lose KSP immediately. Gonna res him back up. This could be deadly. No one's looking at him right now. Getting the boost for a time. Has a great sight line. Forces a Sombra out, and he's just hitting heads, Jake. Although that time,
finally BKB shuts him down. Somebody had to do it.
He's not getting back up. Res used. So the terror of KSP down, and Mayhem can head in a little bit more easily here. The Gravy, self-destruct. Mayhem, though, Bob's holding down the fort.
Yeah, this defender spawn advantage matters a little bit too much there, and you know, despite the initiation from the Valiant, I think losing KSP means you just don't have that backline damage to follow up. And when you're playing against the Sigma in particular, I think you really do need the Ashe. You need somebody who's just going to be able to sit there and chunk through the shields. And looking at the rest of the Valiant lineup, really nobody but Ashe fits that bill. McGravy is going to give them a more aggressive potential, but right now, with the support ultis online, it's really on KSF. He has to deliver big time here. If this EMP doesn't find the tanks and the supports, they're almost certainly going to be able to counter.
Well, it hits 4, and Gargoyle immediately strikes the ground. Chris out of it, so you know, KSF, I think, has struggled a little bit in the summer, but that was a great EMP. Puts the Valiant in a good spot. Losing last row kind of limits how aggressive they can be here, but they try and keep the Winston under check in the back. Fade's gonna use the Primal, and now the Mayhem, this goes back to the winnable idea. They had a rough opening, Jake, but now they're just delaying.
And KSF is really dancing with this Primal, making it work. KSP now uncontested on the high ground. We'll see if he can deliver a few more kills there, and I think it's gonna be necessary. Sigma hack, though, crucial from KSF, who really enables his DPS partner right there.
Look at KSP, the vantage point once more, deals with Chris. And KSP, you cannot give this man an open sight line. He's knocking it all down. And with 4 minutes and 40 seconds left to go, the Valiant are setting a very quick time in response to the Mayhem.
Dreamer switches over to the Wrecking Ball to get back to the fight. Now he's back on the Winston, so a reset on the Primal Charge could be a bit costly. However, you are pushing into an EMP, and remember, third point Numbani, this is where the rubber really meets the road. This is where the defense really becomes deadly, and where I think in particular, Sigma is going to get a lot of value. BQB finds KSP with the help of that Sigma shield, and it is res, but the EMP shuts down all the backline to support this dive.
The execution in the back. I don't know, Chris ended up falling after Mayhem went in after the EMP, but enough damage has been done here that the Valiant, a team that isn't usually in the winnable mode as much as Mayhem is, they're probably going to reset.
Well, I think no matter what your mindset is as a team, this is just a map where you need to be resetting, because the defender spawn advantage is really significant. Their positional advantage is significant throughout third point here, so no matter what your confidence level is as a team, you need to play smart here. You need to take good fights, and a fight that is trading kills both ways is not all that winnable, frankly, on Numbani last. It's basically a 2 CP map final point.
Now, one thing that's interesting as we end the final here is I think the sight lines are a little bit tougher for KSP relative to the middle. I mean, the middle, fantastic for an Ashe or even a Widow if you're going to run it. Now, KSP having to deal with Mayhem, playing around line of sight a lot here. The Valiant under a little bit of pressure. Mayhem decide to head on in, sneak on the Fate as he was nanoed. Gets woken back up, takes down last row, and the Mayhem just stay out of line of sight, Jake, then head back in.
Yeah, it's simple plays, but they're effective, right? You've got that Gravitic Flux from Gargoyle, and I think that's something that you're really worried about if you're the Valiant. If KSF can't find the hack to shut down the Flux, if Lastro can't find the sleep, those are your only 2 shutdowns. And they're not all that consistent, especially for a player like Gargoyle that is going to be playing around those answers, you know, using his shield, using his teammates to protect him from hack. I just, you know, a little subtle difference there. Once again, Fate manages to cancel the enemy hack. As I say that though, massive EMP comes in here, hits everybody, and the dive is perfect.
The setup was great. The Valiant were really sneaky about setting that up. The EMP heads out. Dreamer, McGravy immediately there on the follow-through, and I like it from the Valiant, but they still have one more fight to go, Jake, with the stagger onto Yaki, buying them even more time.
I like the attempt there from Dreamer to catch Gargoyle in the corner, but it isn't going to work out, so that will be something of a wasted Primal. However, double supportal available to help finish off this map.
Nano onto Dreamer, the Valiant looking to end this now. You don't want to let the Mayhem get back up here. KSF down. I just wonder about BQB and KSP, the Ash players. BQB was able to get down Dreamer. Fate finds KSP, and the Mayhem get out of spawn, and they stay alive for now.
I think the reality of that fight is just Fate getting way too much done with the Primal Rage. You don't have any answers to actually shut him down. So despite the fact that Yaki didn't really find much off of his EMP in the previous fight, Fate just basically solos with the Primal right there. And it just keeps Lastra out of the fight, means you don't have the sustain to keep McGravy and Dreamer fighting. You can't keep your allied support up. So despite all the support ults committed from Valiant, it's just not enough to finish the map. And you know, this is a common story here on Numbani. Coming out of those spawns, those are good positions. Like right in the spawn is a fine position for an Ashe Mercy combo to play. Maybe with an Ana, you can still help on point. So that is what makes this map so difficult to finish. It needs to be a really explosive start to the fight. And at least now, though, the cart is in that final position. One more explosive fight with early picks. That will be enough for the Valiant.
KSP do it one more time. It's certainly what the Valiant are looking for here. 1 minute left on the clock to get through here in point zero. Remember, they need to do it, not in overtime. They need time remaining on the clock. Fate, Nano to the back, quick assassination onto Lastro. And that's just easy from the Mayhem, where I really like how they're letting their tanks dictate a lot of this and not giving KSP room to work with.
That's just some hate right there for Lastro. Just got solo EMP'd and solo Nano Winston. Just, all right, I guess I'm dead on Ana. So, I mean, what can you do about that? But that's just because Florida, they've got resources to spare. And I actually like the way they play that fight, because the rest of their team is diving elsewhere, picking off KSP. So, you know, no Ana means you can't really survive anywhere else on the map. So I actually love that investment of resources. Fate has another Primal Rage, and we saw how much he got done last time. EMP, though, it could be the early shutdown that the Valiant need. Gotta find Fate, though, critically.
The problem for the Valiant now is they're playing for the draw. They're not going to finish with time remaining. They take down Gangnam Jin, that's a start. KSF still holding on to the EMP. The Valiant need to keep everyone alive while KSF sets back up. The Mayhem, meanwhile, looking for weakness in the back. They get the res back up just at the last moment. Back to a full 6. Fate, pretty low off the Nano in the back. EMP finally dropped. KSF gives his life for it. I'm not sure the fall through is going to be there. BQB had the immediate shutdown. The Valiant, though, still pushing, still trying to get this into a drawable situation. But the Mayhem, they heal back up, and now they're good to go again. They're going to drop the EMP, and just on McGravy here.
McGravy doing a nice job actually tanking that ultimate. KSF coming back on the Soldier 76, and KSP and Bob still alive in the backline here. So this one, it's still under contest. Lastro desperately trying to charge that Nano, and I think this actually might be going the way of the Valiant. No, BQB!
Not
Forever kill from the flank! Oh my
He's going
word.
for it! Oh. Yeah, that was part of your fault. You're like, it might be winnable for the Valiant, and BQB says, what did he just say?
That's like the worst caster curse I have ever done by far. You see BQB smiling, laughing in the player cam. I mean, he just rolled up on the flank, dropped a quick triple kill, all headshots with the Mercy boost. And I mean, what an incredible play, right? It was KSP who really lit it up at the start of the Valiant offense, shutting down the enemy combo, but BQB, he gets the last word. And I mean, what a way to settle things. I think that fight was going the way of the Valiant without that ridiculous play coming out from BQB. He recognizes the situation is a little bit desperate. He takes the risk. And when you're as good at Ashe as BQB is, well, it pays off sometimes. And here we get to see it.
Yeah, and man, you just look back at it. It's so remarkably clean. And it shows how an Ashe can just turn a fight in an instant, because I agree with your assessment. The Valiant were in a great spot. They were seemingly about to turn it over, but all it takes is a few quick clicks from an Ashe, and it all comes crumbling down.
I actually love that clip from BQB because it shows the mental fortitude that a professional player has, right? I think a lot of players come out on that flank, see a lot of players, and he did miss his first 2 shots. So I think a lot of players and people watching a broadcast can probably say this for themselves, that like you come out in that situation, you start to mess up in the beginning, and immediately it gets to your head. Immediately, you lose control. Oh God, and then you mess up, and everything goes wrong. You don't find anything. But BQB, he's just immediately past that, right? 2 misses, doesn't matter. The next 3 are headshots all in a row, as fast as can be. Damage boost still on him. So I think that clip is actually better than one that is like truly perfect where you don't miss at all, right? Because it shows that you can come in and maybe the start, a little bit of friction, a little bit rocky, but you just have the confidence and stability mentally that it doesn't affect you, and it doesn't make you aim less consistently, as we saw the end of the clip. More than good enough here. So really, really nice job by BQB. Incredible performance by him on Ash this map.
Well, the Mayhem, they're up 2-0. How'd they do it? We got Watch Point to break it all down.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League. Welcome to another game break presented by Pringles, Wavy, Zoe, Costa, and Reinforce at your service to dissect all the action between the LA Valiant and the Florida Mayhem. The later being 2-0 up at half. So let's discuss the match. Reinforce, starting with you here on map 1, although I do want to rub it in since, someone on this list decided to go for the Valiant. But let's get there a little later and start with you, Reinforce. What were your thoughts? What were you... You're enjoying this way more than I do, and I actually really liked that. But okay, so we did mention that the Mayhem didn't look quite as comfortable
very recently. Did that change in your opinion, looking at their performance today?
I mean, I think the Florida Mayhem are looking quite on par. I mean, they've been number 4 in our power rankings, both mine and Costas, for a few weeks now, because we do respect the caliber of players on this team and the playstyles they bring together. So we kicked things off, and we saw these Winston Diva compositions, and obviously we saw the Ashe and the Sombra come out. And this is what the Florida Mayhem wanted to play against the Vancouver Titans Friday, but now they're finally being let loose in that regard and can really play this style. And then, of course, we went over to Shrine, and we saw that the Widowmakers came out, and BQB was just fragging out, of course. So I think fundamentally Florida Mayhem is still a super solid team, and maybe it is on the Valiant a little bit slacking and cannot really, you know, be up to par with their opponents in the Mayhem so far.
I mean, Yaki on that Sombra, by the way, had 10.8 kills average per 10. So that's, I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Pretty good.
I think Statsman Matt did say that. He basically plays her like a purple tracer. So good on him. Now, if we're looking at the second map, Costa, what are your big takeaways?
Yeah, I think Yaki's super important to highlight here, because his Sombra, he's never actually played it in the Overwatch League before, but he's doing a phenomenal job of really dictating the flow for this Florida Mayhem team. Let me defend myself a little bit here.
Okay.
I came into this match with the prediction of the Valiant under the basis that the Florida Mayhem were going to try and force this double shield again, because they didn't show against the Vancouver Titans a willingness to play this Winston Sombra dive. But they've obviously made some adjustments, and they look really good. Obviously, Fade is a veteran Winston that's been playing it for a very long time. Chris goes back on the Mercy, Gangnam Jin on the Ana. Across the board, they're pretty much on their perfect heroes, and they've done such a good job. BQB is just absolutely outplaying KSP, another all-star caliber player, on that hit scan, and then KSF just doesn't look as comfortable on the Sombra as Yaki does. So it's been really good for the Florida Mayhem. I don't think the Los Angeles Valiant are underperforming. I just think that they can't keep up with the Florida Mayhem, who are making a very good case for them being definitely in the top 4 of the Overwatch League in the North American region.
Yeah, they certainly are, you know, actually dictating the pace of the game, and they're coming in with really big individual performances as well. So let's take a look at Crunch Time presented by Pringles Wavy. And of course, that one has to go over to BQB with his massive clutch performance at the end of Numbani.
I mean, this was unreal, wasn't it? Because we expected the LA Valiant to close things out and we'll go to overtime, but instead BQB comes in clutch and lands these shots. I mean, talking about his season performance so far, we were like, okay, well, you know, he's probably an average hit scan player for this team, and then obviously swapped over to the Widowmaker at the start and in the middle of the season, started popping off and beating Widowmaker in duels, and now he's on the Ashe and he's fragging out and getting so much value. It's not only about the dynamite damage that we saw early in the season with the double shield compositions, he can also land these headshots, and it is so crucial when you're trying to turn some of these team fights around. We saw KSP even do it. He had some nasty shots, especially on point A of Numbani. They're just like, you know, it just flipped a switch. You just won the team fight on the back of that. And BQB definitely showcasing that he has the mechanical skill to compete with some of the best Ashes in the league.
Yeah, I want to add on to that as well. For BQB, I remember in Season 2, he didn't really make much of a name for himself as, you know, a standout player in the Overwatch League. But I remember heading into Season 3, I had a lot of different people who are players saying, BQB is nuts. And I was like, there's no way. He was, like, really mediocre in 2019. But he has made a name for himself on this hit scan role, taking it to the best thus far this season. He's, you know, one of the main reasons there has been a resurgence in this Florida Mayhem team.
Well, I'm going to be very interested to see if the Valiant can turn this one around, as they are down at half 0-2 against the Florida Mayhem. So we're now heading on to map number 3, which is going to be Volskaya. So we're sending it back over to ZP and Jake.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
This has been very one-sided so far, and I've got to give so much credit to Fate and Gargoyle. The Hulks, the Rocks, they're playing on another level right now.
哦，连打击打了出去，但是没有加持，这个拍直接拍到5个。Play a little bit more spread out here. Yaki diving onto the back line. What a stick! 巨人扛了一下伤害，再来一个吸，卖出炸弹直接交出来，炸到2个人，交付这一波双杀。
The meta not troubling Florida Mayhem at all. Doesn't really matter what the hero pool is. They seem to have the answer, up 2-0 over the Valiant. A big part of that, of course, BQB, where hitscan players really making their mark.
Yeah, definitely. I think BQB and KSP have been going blow for blow, though. So while both have been explosive, I think as we go to Volskaya Industries, that's only going to become more of the case. This is a very dominant map for hitscan players, but it's also one where Sombra can really make her impact felt. And in that case, I think it has been a little bit more favoring the Florida Mayhem. I think Yaki has just been incredibly strong in the Sombra. The EMPs have been a little bit more consistent. KSF has been shut down a couple times on these EMPs. You know, maybe I think that's because largely he's forced to go for them in a little bit more of a risky situation rather than the more precise setups that the Mayhem has been able to execute. But regardless, it has been going the way of Yaki. He has looked really sharp on this Sombra. So going to Volskaya Industries, I think it is really on KSF to, you know, step it up to a more consistent level on the Sombra, the team to play on the EMPs a little more effectively. But KSP, he also needs to stay hot. He needs to stay aggressive and most likely just shut down BQB of all people, right? Because he has been that real hammer in the back line, just pounding away at the tank line that the Valiant try to contest cart with.
So you're organizing things here on the Valiant. Like, let's say you're playing for the Valiant and you see the trends that are going on right now, and you notice a little bit of the Sombra difference that's happening, and you're looking at the factors that are going into it. You're the Valiant, you want to shore things up, you want to make life as easy as possible for KSF to try and even the difference and turn this thing around, where now you're looking at a reverse sweep. You know, what do you do really? What adjustments do you make to make things a little bit easier for KSF?
I think what makes this so difficult to do, though, is that it's not really ever just a simple adjustment that you can make. So if you can make these sort of adjustments match time, I'm incredibly impressed by it, because I think it is really, really difficult to change things with a hero like Sombra, because Sombra sort of defines the entire strategy. It's all built around her, and if things aren't going well with your Sombra, usually that's a sign that there's systemic issues. Not necessarily that Valiant are not a good team, but rather that Mayhem are just playing at a pace they're not ready for. I think Gargoyle got a lot of value out of Sigma in the last map. You know, and the fact that he can go to the Diva no problems as well means that they have just one extra little bit of flexibility in this comp. I think what it will come down to ultimately is these tank brawls, and that's where I think a player like Fate has really impressed me this series. There's been quite a few moments where Fate has basically an unsupported Primal that he's forced to just go make a play with, like go find some solo kills, and yet he somehow delivers time and time again. And that's far from a certainty, right? With Sombra on the field, with Ana on the field, right? You've got a lot of shutdown potential for a Primal Rage. So the fact that Fate has managed to sort of sneak through those issues and come out unscathed, come out with these high impact Primals, says to me that that's been a real difference maker here for the Valiant. That they've looked a little bit more slow, a little bit more reserved, frankly, on the side of Dreamer when it comes to the Primal, and, you know, no such issues for Fate.
Gargoyle is going to go for it. The opening hook to try and find KSF, who may or may not even be near the spawn door. No, he doesn't even go for it. Come on, just take the shot.
I actually don't like it because I think it's not even worth 2 seconds it takes to do it. But, you know, so I actually like coming out on Sigma here, and Sigma gives them a little bit of poke advantage here. So the Valiant, while they're on the defense, they're going to be forced into being the aggressors here, despite that not being a role I think you really want on Volskaya defense. So I love the pick from Gargoyle. It actually puts pressure on the defenders to make the first move.
KSP, meanwhile, putting some pressure on BQB. We're talking about that sort of game. Neutral, good pressure from KSP. Now gonna have to reposition. Now the Mayhem taking more of a spot here, hitting or hiding behind Gargoyle. And the pressure in the neutral game coming in from Gargoyle, pretty severe. And Lastro ends up getting caught. Yaki was able to get to the back, finishes off Lastro. The sustain for the Valiant, it's in shambles if they can't get a resurrection off. And with Dreamer down, this is just looking worse and worse.
just really nice play from Yaki. But ultimately, I think this is largely on the composition. The fact that Gargoyle gives that second shield. McGravy, he just isn't able to have the same impact on D.Va. It's a hero that you would normally want to play with, you know, extra dive DPS, like 2 dive DPS rather than just 1. I think it really suits D.Va's strengths. But I do think the Sigma just fits better when you're going to run an Ashe and a Mercy. Like, having that extra shield means that KSP can't even get a duel always. He's finding himself breaking the Sigma shield while BQB is just free shooting. And it was that headshot by BQB onto Lastro. The damage didn't get healed up quickly enough, so Yaki was able to finish it off. Ult's relatively even here, but clear initiation advantage for Florida Mayhem. Gong Nanjin's Nano, you're going to see the Valk from Chris. This could be over and done with very, very quickly.
And I think in Miami, try and push the advantage here, and you look for it. You're setting up the Nano. Fate, the first move, slept immediately. Nice reaction coming in from Lastro. And it doesn't mean the push is over for the Mayhem, but it definitely hurts initiation. However, Lastro's still under fire. Super low, trying to get away, and Fate goes, oh, you're going to put me to sleep? I'll put you to sleep permanently. The Mayhem just get right back in. And, you know, if I'm Lastro, I'm a little bit upset at the sequence of events, Jake.
I mean, that's about as well as you can play on the Ana. You know, he does find the sleep on the Nano Winston, but that's fate with the Primal, right? Like, you used your sleep, you don't have it again. Once he wakes up, he knows he has that 7-second window to just have free reign with the Primal. And, I mean, his execution is just so flawless that there's nothing you can really do on the side of the Valiant there, right? Like, there's no further shutdown available. And I think that's just the power right there of having that double support ult initiation. You know, although the changes to 2CP that, you know, with the defenders spawning almost instantly when they do lose first point, they've helped stop snowballs. However, sometimes that happens where you just have the double initiation ult, and, you know, like, especially when it's 2 support ults, that's so painful because it means, of course, the Florida Mayhem, they're going to stay alive with that Nano plus Valkyrie combo. That's going to keep everyone else alive so that the rest of your ults also come through. So, like, the idea of the defense there, you have to find some sort of opening pick, some sort of shutdown. But when you Nano a Winston in, when you're Valking the whole team, it's just such a difficult thing to achieve. You're relying on really just like a miracle play from KSP at that point, which, I mean, even the best player in the world can't deliver time and time again, right? Eventually, you're going to slip up. And when there's a Nano Winston in your face, that's the time it's going to happen.
Now, in terms of comp strengths, you mentioned that you liked what Mayhem was running as on offense versus what Valiant was running on the defense. Now, with flip sides, do you warm up a little bit more to what the Valiant is running here in Volskaya, or would you still like to see McGravy potentially go over to the Sigma?
Honestly, I do want to see McGravy on the Sigma here. I think it's just a better pick for Volskaya Industries. There's going to be a lot of these wide open sight lines where BQB is just poking freely, and because he has the confidence to just play behind a shield, like, yes, McGravy can eat the dynamite, so slow down the Bob charge, but I don't think you really care about Bob in these comps. I think it's much more significant to find pickoffs on Ashe. And, you know, Bob, you've got Pat, you've got Sleep, so, you know, the counters are all there for Bob. So ult charge, not so relevant. It's the picks that matter, and that's where Sigma really enables Ashe.
KSP getting the pocket, making every shot all the more damaging. The Valiant, though, feeling some pressure here from Mam. So far, so good. Dreamer going down, though, really going to slow things up a bit. Even with Yaki out of the fight, you're down to Winston. It's difficult to keep the pressure up. KSP, though, still going to be looking for those pokes.
That's painful, though. The res did get canceled, so Dreamer is going to be taking the long walk back from spawn. A little bit more options here for the Mayhem to regroup. Hack comes in on a Gargoyle. I love that hack, though, because it really denies all that defensive pressure I was talking about that Sigma helps offer. BQB rotating to the high ground. He needs to bail out Gargoyle. He's in real trouble right now, but KSP too quick.
Res is coming in. Yeah, the res is coming in. They weren't able to deny it, so BQB gets another shot at KSP. The Valiant, though, they've gotten into the point. It's up to the Mayhem to respond. McGravy gonna lose the back of the man. They slow play this in the back. They let the Valiant overdive. Now they Nano onto Fate. Dreamer looking for the knockoff in the back. A little bit of extra disruption, but the Mayhem have mostly regained control here, Jake.
Yeah, I love how well they backed off there, and the Nano from Fate, he faked like he was gonna go on the enemy Ana, but then turned to the baby D.Va to finish her off. Although Gargoyle does drop, so power play once again here for the Valiant. Dreamer falls in trade, and oh, this res, that really secures it now for the Florida Mayhem. Somber forced out again, and you're looking at a relatively even ult situation here. EMP could be explosive here, but the Mayhem, they've been so precise, they've been so split. Like, where does KSF pop this where does KSF pop this EMP? God, these guys, this DPS duo, it really gets me.
The KS, what? It is actually caster hard mode and then some, but we're looking at KS of the F variety. EMP's ready to go. EMP, though, gonna be coming out first from Yaki. It's 3. Time, though, still standing strong. They lose Dreamer towards the end.
Yeah,
Courtesy of
BQB,
Gargoyle.
he's just getting these uncontested flanks when all the distraction comes in. The aggression is perfect from Fate, and he's even going to live.
Yep, 200 HP in the Dream. Getting healed back up and has faith in the healing to come through. Still holding on and, okay, maybe should have backed up a little bit, but even with him falling, the fall through from the rest of the Mayhem is there. They punish the people coming in from the top, and BQB just uncontested right now, Jake.
Yeah, he's kind of dominating this game, and with less than minute 30 on the clock now, every ult expended for the Valiant, they find themselves in a full reset, and you're about to have a nano, nano primal certainly coming down your throat here. Well, actually, as I say that, Lastro has his own nano, so theoretically this is even, but I just think this is going to favor the defenders. It's so much more difficult for Dreamer to get the same initiation because the defenders are all set up, they're all split, they're not going to give you that big cleave moment, whereas Fate, it should be pretty easy for him to find the enemy grouped.
Especially when that happens, Dreamer had to back out from him, took a headshot, courtesy of BQB. And now the nano in, Fate looking to shut this push down, put the Valiant just about out of time. Valiant though, able to withstand, able to heal back up, and now it's time for them to go. Lastro, nano onto Dreamer. The man getting forced back. Rock sends Dreamer back a little bit. Nano almost nearly done. Still has a primal in reserve, but is gonna save it. Final 25 seconds left here.
Yeah, Dreamer's Primal is everything. Big Bionade on the backline from Valiant, so they can't get into help. It's all on Dreamer to make something happen, but both supports are together. They're healing each other, so no pickoff available. And they seem to have lost the feed, so go VP.
BQB in a decent spot right now. Both teams down main tanks. You look to the hit scan. KSP able to find Chris. KSP looking for a little bit more right now. Remember, BQB still a threat. The EP dropped. And so is Gangnam Jin, but BQB's found room. He got to the back. He took down two, and now he's going up and over to the high ground as the Mayhem look to end this here. And now BQB sacrifices the high ground, goes to the low, and ooh, taken down by KSP at the end. Still though, Respawn's coming back in for the Mayhem. Fate back onto the point, and it's KSF making his presence known. And the respawn distance there, Jake, a long way to traverse. And are you back?
I am back, ZP. That was a nice little solo cast, little payback for last time. And it was beautiful by the KS brothers there. Getting some quality pickoffs. KSP, that was a great push by him, right? When BQB dropped that dynamite, it looked as if he was going to be able to find that big dynamite. He didn't have too much support left for the Valiant, but KSP just aggro peeks the corner into the dynamite and just shuts down BQB before he can detonate. So that pickoff is absolutely everything here, but the test is far from over now for the Los Angeles Valiant. They are pushing into another Fate Primal.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is, too, they have to do this with at least some time remaining on the clock. I mean, no matter what, it's going to be a slower time, but a great way of keeping this map in contest. Just win now. Can be easier said than done. The Valiant holding back. They drop the nano onto Dreamer. Dreamer, the first one in, deals with Fate. Fate couldn't even primal in time. BQB down as KSP takes it, and suddenly a huge advantage for the Valiant. The perfect engage for the situation.
Yeah, Fate should get his primal off. That's everything, although BQB gets one counter pick. Nano as well onto Gargoyle, so he'll be able to tank the point for quite a while. I love this corner he's playing. So difficult to evict him from this position. Hard to deny him heals, and what a perfect EMP. Shuts down the Bob before he even really gets out. Fate, though, pretty much going to be in delay mode with his primal. KSP has not left this high ground, so he's pretty much uncontested, dominating from the backline. Fate dies again without primaling. Fate?
Oh, and he's not going to get another chance, and it does not carry over to the next round. He drops a primal in spawn, and, we say primal rage for Winston, but I wouldn't be surprised if Fate is channeling some primal rage of his own at the keyboard, because that's just frustrating.
No. That is so painful. Yeah, wow, that's rough. I'm not sure what exactly happened there. You have to imagine a player like Fate got CC'd at the crucial moment. You don't think he's just going to make a slip up like that. Maybe it's KSF or Lastro. Sometimes that sleep dart, you just get bursted so quick, right? If, as you're taking damage, you're trying to delay the primal for the last second, get maximum value. That's the sort of greediness you need at the highest level. But however, sometimes it does bite you when the enemy team punishes perfectly. So, props to Lastro and KSF for putting that pressure on, for KSP delivering headshot after headshot, and we still got ourselves a game here.
So, the Valiant, they're on the attack again. Their time bank far less than what the Mayhem have. And, I mean, look, you don't have to think too far in the past to remember their first attack on point A, and it was pretty tortured, Jake. They needed a lot more time than what they have left on the clock here. What do they have to change in dealing with this Mayhem defense to make this quicker? Because if they repeat the same thing, they're not even going to get point A.
the challenge in my mind is just how do you answer Gargoyle? I think you have to go around him. I'm not sure it's possible to really go through this Sigma. I think his shield and his defensive utility, the rock, he's just going to be too difficult an obstacle to move past. However, if you can evade him, maybe take some big flanks, come out on high ground, come out from behind the enemy on high ground. I think that's the way to deal with the Sigma. At least minimize his effectiveness, utilize the mobility that D.Va offers in the matchup. But I don't think it's going to be easy. You see Gargoyle, he wants to make himself a real issue here, standing right in the front, just poking at those tanks.
It came out early, and the focus on last row continues. BQB finds them. Now the res is going to come in, so the push isn't necessarily over yet for the Valiant, but look at the support for BQB here. The dive comes in, he just returns fire, makes Dreamer run for his very life, and the front line for the Valiant not looking healthy, and this is where you're going to see the Mayhem start taking initiative. They move forward, they catch McGravy, they get him out of the mech, and this is just the Mayhem knowing when to push.
Yeah, losing D.Va's suit like that is so painful, and just one pick turns into another there, right? Even though Lastro gets resurrected, it seems like even for the Valiant, because the Florida play at such a high tempo, that never actually materializes, right? You never get the regroup that you're hoping for. And even Dreamer might go down here. Oh, that's so painful. You don't even get to charge your support ultimates on that low Winston. So it's really all on the nano boost right now, but I mean, Florida just played that fight so perfectly. They have almost all their ultimates available. And I mean, barring some sort of catastrophe here, I feel like this is going to be a full hold.
Well, there is one catastrophe that I can think of, even though I think the spelling is there, and it's KSP. This is where KSP has been so explosive all series long. He'll look to the Ashe to find an early pickoff to give you an edge in a nearly unwinnable situation. Now, KSF sleeping early on. Dreamer gets nano, and ooh, you lose the Sombra, and Dreamer's late to the party off the nano. They get BQB down, though. This is a start. The Valiant. First opportunity to head in. Fate sleeping over to the side. No, Dreamer's mid probably gets slugged, but someone woke him up. Gangnam Jin down. BQB, though, has been rezzed back up at the last second, and the Mayhem still in a great spot to defend. BQB low, and KSP finds him. That could be what the Valiant need.
KSP going 1v1 with Chris, but a little too much. The Valk Mercy, a very hard target at close range. And KSP delivered absolutely massively in that fight, getting pickoff after pickoff. And I thought that was just all over, frankly. When KSF got slept and bursted down by BQB, I mean, I just thought that fight was over. I thought this map was over, frankly. But, they're still alive now. The Valiant kicking in the clutch here. And with the ultimate advantage they've got, a snowball here is more than just possible here. I think they're looking to get a tick or maybe more, and any progress on second point puts this map very much in winnable territory.
And the Valiant have an edge. They can open up with the nano onto Dreamer, let him lead the way, set up KSF with the EMP. Meanwhile, Yaki gonna have to do this a little bit more freelance, maybe look to Gargoyle at the same time, but the bio to Dreamer is gonna slow things down a little bit. But Valiant, they must go. Nano in on the Dreamer, Yaki with the spots, drops EMP over the top, hits 3. Dreamer, though, was able to go off the nano, find Gargoyle. The Valiant up 1. McGravy, low HP, healed back up. The Valiant still a full 6, and McGravy still living against the odds. And the Mayhem losing player after player as the Valiant have just about done it.
Yeah, McGravy, he's just still holding on to the self-destruct in reserve should there be any issues. And there it is, the full cap. It's not over yet for the Florida Mayhem. Still possible with the massive time bank they have. And, how incredible their last offense was to come back. But that's a painful defeat. I mean, that last fight, there's no way that the Valiant should have won that, right? Going down 1, you're down in ultimate economy. There's really no advantages at all. But KSP just, just pulled it out of nothing, really. Just give me the damage boost. Don't heal me. All I need to get is frags, and frags he delivered.
Yeah, and I mean, for the Valiant, I think you're absolutely right when you talk about the overall situation in the game, where it's crazy to look at this and go, okay, this is now a lot more competitive. But you look at the other side, the Mayhem weren't really significantly stopped on their first attack. And that means that just as the Valiant were able to reinvigorate their attack for the last attacking round and do things in a much quicker time, they're also going to have to reinvigorate their defense here, Jake. And, they got surprised perhaps by the Sigma the first time around. But even knowing that the Mayhem have been running the Sigma all match long, they still run with the D.Va on their next defense. So they still think that this is viable versus this.
Yeah, well, I mean, they had a great attacking round, so it is definitely possible, and the difference in the comps isn't massive, right? You're only switching one hero. However, I am more worried about the D.Va on the defensive side. I think on attack, it makes a little bit more natural sense. You want to be the aggressor, so a highly mobile hero might be a great way to disrupt those defender setups. However, on defense, I think you're now forced to be more aggressive than you might want to be. You might want to let KSP play slow, rely on his headshots to come through. But I think when you're running D.Va into Sigma, you need to be just a little bit quicker than that. So KSP, I think he's not a stranger to an aggressive role though, so it shouldn't be necessarily an issue for him.
And you see the targeting difference there. The Sigma shield is up, and what does KSP do? He just doesn't look at that angle of attack. It lets the Mayhem now rotate Ortel up, but KSP strikes! Finds Gangnam Jin. The problem is that everything's taking place at range of shield, so the resurrection is there. Yaki down, Gargoyle though punishes Dreamer, and now the Valiant aren't going to be able to pressure this as much. They look to KSP again.
Yeah, that pickup was massive onto Yaki. The sleep from Lastro, just perfect. KSP finds another though, so he is refusing to give up first point, and there's no one really left to stop him on this high ground. It's just Gargoyle delaying things, but you only have so much defensive utility. However, I love the way Mayhem are playing this slow, careful. They're relying on their spawn advantage to give them that secured victory, and that's another pickup though onto Fate. So I think if you're Mayhem, you need to take a little bit of a soft reset, slow things down. Just get your Winston back in. That's really a crucial piece. You can't really do much without.
Yeah, with Mayhem on one hand, you realize, okay, you have a lot of time, but this attack, slower than it was before. The Valiant playing this better and better as the round goes on. Now the Mayhem ready to go again. Fate on the early jump in. BQB looking to the left, sees the opposition on the other side. Nice knockback and sleep onto Dreamer. He got the business. Sleeping near the bush. Now off the sleep, back or the other way, and Lastro carries when it's needed. Lands a good sleep of his own. It's not enough to stay alive, but it still could be enough to win the fight.
Yeah, Fate's back, and he still has a primal. Res does come through onto Lastro, but so many picks now coming in for the Mayhem. Even though it was a beautiful defense by the Valiant, they are going to EMP bomb. Finds one, finds another from KSF. So if somehow the picks come in, somehow they're cleaning this back up, but spotted it here. Remember, it is significant, so this fight, even if it's close, it might ultimately break the way of the Mayhem.
The Mayhem, they're not looking to retreat at all, faking some crucial healing. The mob on the way in, the Mayhem very close to getting this point, and I mean the Valiant, they're going to go one more attempt to try and rip it away. Dreamer does have the primal in reserve. The Mayhem are very healthy, they have good positioning, they're focusing on McGravy. Rain gets sniped down, and BQB taking out a huge source of healing.
Lux is missed though.
Fight.
Could be something now. Lastro finds one, primal's still going.
BQB to the side, Chris off the fight, KSP still a threat. In on the corner, and the Mayhem, there it is. BQB gets KSP, falls in turn. I think the two teams kind of rely more on KSP.
Yeah, this is an absolute knockdown drag out though. Winner far from decided. Although Nano Boost now in reserve for Gangnam Jin, you have to imagine that's going to be going in onto a tank, leading in this aggression. KSP, he's still running back from spawn. He's not here to help just yet. So KSF, he really is desperately trying to charge with this Nano. It's going to be full aggression out, and the McGravy eats the nade. That shuts down Gangnam Jin.
They caught Gangnam Jin in the fielder spot from yesterday. Down. Dreamer, though, pays for it with his life. BQB is back into the fray, and the resurrection is there. So the Mayhem back to full strength. They don't have to worry about the Winston. The EMP in from KSF, and once more, you look to KSP, who's back into the fight. Is there going to be a response? McGravy, he backed down. The front line for the Valiant is not in this fight anymore, and the Mayhem, they're just going to take it.
Oh, that was such a beautiful play by McGravy, making the D.Va work, eating the Ana nade, getting that kill, but you know, with Mercy online, it just doesn't happen. And this jukes Gangnam Jin, the slow crouch walk to the left. KSP dropped the log. Oh my god.
Stop.
I can't believe what KSP did that. Or with Gangnam Jin rather. That's one of those things as an FPS player. Sometimes when people do a juke that makes no sense at all, that's truly the hardest to hit. You just think he's got to counter strafe. Like no one is crazy enough to just keep walking in a straight line. He's gonna counter strafe. But then he just
it's new movement. It's the scariest, most evasive thing. Like, it's why playing against a beginner, you'll just wonder why can't it hit any shots. It's like, well, they're moving in ways you don't expect. But the Mayhem, 1 minute left to go. The Valiant's now in a great position to rip this map away. They could stop this push here and now.
The Valiant, they've got to dodge this EMP though from Yaki. If this is a big EMP, if some of these ults are shut down, then Mayhem are in a very good position to finish the map.
Fate, Nano to the back. Lastro just looking for a breathe, not gonna find it. The assassination plan works out. But the resurrection is there. EMP though out. Both supports are in the back. The healing for the Valiant just tough right now. Many players low. KSP isn't going to be able to get away. BQB finds him. McGravy still in need of healing, going to get demeched. And now Dreamer up to him to make some space, but he gets BQB down in the back, and that could be enough.
I think Valiant have this. It's locked in at this point. You've got no heals left. Garnanjin doing his damnedest to survive in the corner. Dreamer isolates the Sombra, forces Yaki back. Lastro cleans up the Ana, so it's just going to be a final point contest. Fate has a Primal Rage, but this needs to be disgusting. I mean, he needs a multi-kill here, and Lastro, once again with the sleeps, been so consistent on this map, kept it in contention. Primal's good from Fate. He's trying to get something, but he's basically just solo EMP to this point. Finds Chris as well, so the Valiant somehow clawed this one back.
Astro just continues being insane right now for the Valiant. The Mayhem running out of ways to stall the point, and Yaki touches it once. Is anyone else going to be able to come on in? BQB got picked, but it's not enough. They can't stand the point, and the Valiant not going down to a sweep.
Wow, what incredible mental fortitude here from the Los Angeles side. I mean, I had honestly come close to writing them off in this series. I thought when that ridiculous attack round came through from the Mayhem that mentally they would have been broken. But what impressed me more than anything, more than the actual play or the comps or the strategies, is the mental fortitude and that incredible long fight, right? If your mental is weak, that sort of long, recontest fight on first point, you are never going to do as well as the Valiant just did. So the fact that they had such a great performance in such an incredibly long, hotly contested fight where you have spawn disadvantage, so you need to not just play equal, but better than the attackers. And the fact that they stayed in it for so long shows that this team has a lot of fight left in them.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the one thing that you really got to look at for that Volskaya is, let's not forget, there were 4 rounds of play, right? As we went through, 4 rounds per team, I should say, and as we went through it all, the Mayhem looked way better on their initial attack and defense round. Like, they were ahead the Valiant of every metric. And the Valiant, as you went to extra rounds, as their time bank was super depleted, they had an incredible attack followed by an even better defense. They truly flipped this Volskaya all the way around.
Yeah, and Fate surely is going to be kicking himself for not being able to get those primals off, just being shut down, not able to get that ult off in the crucial moments, really, of their defense where, they could have full held there. And, if the primal comes off, who knows, maybe they just delay. Even just getting the time bank down would have really hurt the Valiant's chances there. But they do win that map. They do bring ourselves back into a real series here. And now, this is a best of 5, right? 2 maps to win. And at this point, with that type of map and that type of incredible comeback, you've got to imagine the Los Angeles Valiant have the momentum now. They've got the confidence now. And with the sort of exceptional performances KSB has delivered in the past, when they were having a much worse situation, you have to think now he's going to be really activated.
Well, now we have to ask, is it going to be Havana where the Valiant come back and force him at 5, or do the Mayhem rally and end it right there? We'll find out real soon.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile.
The Valiant showing signs of life on Volskaya Industries, completely reversing the flow of the map, even when it looked like they were down and out. And you look at the factors leading into it, I think the entire team was stepping up to a degree, but you gotta look at 3 letters here, Jake. KSP, what a performance just a map ago.
Yeah, he's just been incredibly consistent, and this is sort of exactly the opposite of what you would expect for a rookie player, right? Maybe these highlight moments, sure, you know, a player with talent is going to have those opportunities to succeed, but usually those are the players who are going to struggle in the clutch, going to struggle in those final moments when the team is down, when things look bleak. But KSP has been, if anything, a superstar in those moments. He's had that 5th gear of, you know, other players that I would honestly compare him to, you know, players like Carpe, like, you know, this season it's been Ons, right? Those like super clutch players. You know, in the past, I would always think of Sabiobi in this role of just like when things are looking their worst, when times are darkest, that they're going to stand up and actually have their best performance ever. And that's, you basically can't ask for anything better in terms of qualities in a teammate that, you know, leave you always inspired, always feeling like this is still winnable. These fights are still possible for us. And as we go into the next map, this is Havana. And I mean, I'm not sure exactly how the hero pools are going to break down, but you have to imagine Widow is going to feature prominently here. And KSP has had some moments on Widow that have just been disgusting to me, like just going beyond what you think is humanly possible. And, you know, despite BQB also being a dominant Widowmaker, maybe having even the edge on Busan, I'm a little bit worried now that the momentum is in favor of the Los Angeles Valiant.
Yeah, I mean, you look between the two, and I do think Widow is a pretty big change of pace, though, where so far you look at the Ashe play between the two players, KSP definitely caught a little bit more fire in the last map, but now you head to Havana, you think about how the teams have been supporting each other. Is this also a time where the Valiant have to change a little bit more up now you're running the Widow? You know, the thing I'd point to here is that McGravy has been on D.Va throughout most of the match. Is this a time where you go, okay, we're putting the D.Va to the side, we're going to go up the Sigma just to give a little bit more cover against what's likely to be a Widow-Widow battle here?
Yeah, surely. I really don't think that you're going to play D.Va on this map. I do think this is going to be a very easy map to pick double shield on. It's just the nature of the map. There's not really great dive angles anywhere on the map, maybe on second point, but you really can't be relying on just one point that, you know, the attackers might already be snowballing at that point. You might pick a great comp, sure, but you just get ulted out of the game. So I think it's going to be a double shield mirror here. So a bit of a change up. We haven't actually seen this mirror matchup yet in the series, which is a pretty big surprise to any recent fans of the Overwatch League. And KSF is going to be on the Mei right now. For the rest of it, it's going to be a mirror match, Mei versus Sombra. This is going to make the tank battle a little bit harder for Fate and Gargoyle, who have also been big performers for the Florida Mayhem. So I actually like this pick from KSF.
Now, note on the tank battle, it is McGravy going over to the Sigma, so D.Va not happening, which makes all the sense in the world for the change up here at the Havana. BQB right now looking for shots. The Valiant, meanwhile, just looking to get a little bit of payload progress. All the while, every shot vital between KSP and BQB.
Yeah, this is where the fight really begins, though, and Florida's just forced to back off the corner. They're too scared of the Mei, and I think this is wise, right? You don't want to be taking a close-range trade against Mei. BQB gets poked by KSP, but no kills just yet. So far, a quiet one.
Yeah, but while BQB is waiting for heals, this gives KSP more room to work with. Doesn't have to worry about the other Widow quite as heavily, or at the very least knows has a good shot. Looking for it, only needed the body, Jake, misses. That was a big opportunity.
Yeah, I don't know if he realized that he went for the headshot there, trying to get the instant kill. Didn't really realize the enemy Widow was low. Dreamer taking a ton of pressure, gets destroyed by enemy Widow, but KSP comes up with a dual win. Can he find another? No, it's Lastro.
It's already a great advantage now for the Valiant, the Mayhem, in a tough situation. They're going to need a pick off soon or respawn to get back in, and the Valiant, they're just applying the pressure. They're moving in, but they move in too deeply. Fades on the punish, the Amp Matrix not respected, and it's terrible results for the Valiant. As a result, Dreamer, late to the fight, comes back over on the Hammond, takes down 2, and KSP has the angle again.
That freeze was just disgusting from KSF. Before he even popped his ult, he managed to cleave 3 enemies with the freeze and freeze that whole front line with the Batiste all at once. Now BQB trying to hold on with the Infrasight is probably going to slow down the Valiant, but will it be enough to actually stifle them? Dreamer on this Hammond is going to be able to get really aggressive here unless Yaki can shut him down with the hack.
The Gravy Gang real close. KSP does it again. Takes down Yaki. BQB though gets Lastro, and that's so much bigger. The Transcendence off the table. and this is great for the Mayhem. The Valiant, they were going to plan the next team fight all around the Transcendence now. It's up to the Flux, but Transcendence out early from the Mayhem, and this is a tough fight until Lastro gets back into the fray.
Yeah, McGravy, though, he kept that one in contention, managed to find Gargoyle with his last rock, canceling that enemy Flux, so keeping this one fighting, but Gangnam Jin, he's in such a strong position. Yaki is back with the EMP.
Transcendence timing!
Oh,
and
you're right,
Lastro got the Transcendence off right before the EMP, and yet it's not enough to cleanly win the fight. The man was still able to work on the outskirts, so again, I feel sympathy for Lastro. Even in great plays, sometimes these fights are still lost.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is Dreamer just being on the Hammond, you know, trying to come back fast to that last fight ends up being really punishing. I think they weren't able to get instantly aggressive, largely due to BQB finding Lastro. And now we're going to see a full switch come out from the Los Angeles Valiant, and I actually like this. I think you're too far behind in the ultimate economy to play the straight-up game. You've got to get a little wild with the rush comp. Maybe find an isolation May wall, because if you play this as a straight-up damage trade, you're just going to lose to Infrasight and Amp Matrix.
All right, the Valiant looking to head back in. They've done some wholesale swaps here. KSF able to take down Gangnam Jin. The May Ball Heroes got to back. Mayhem, though, still in a decent spot. Lastro gets caught, but KSP, room to work with. The supports for the Mayhem taken down, and the Valiant, they can push the advantage. The healing's just not there anymore.
I think it's working. This Rhine comp is paying off big time. That pickoff from KSF was so critical, limiting the healing resources that Fate had, and he couldn't last through the fight. So despite the fact that some players went down, the Valiant made it work, and the last minute switch to the Rhine, it pays off big time, and that's a pretty difficult fight to win. Nice plays by KSF on the May.
And note that both teams are still running the Widow, even as the Valiant are, you swap to the Moira or Lucio, you're clearly signaling, we will run at you. What does this mean even for the Widow side of things anymore?
Well, this really changes the game for Widow, because in the double shield mirror, it's a little bit more about breaking shield to enable your Widow. But with Lucio and Rhine, you can just go so aggressive that the enemy Widow is forced into movement, forced into action. And oh, what a beautiful freeze and wall! KSF, this is perfect!
And Ice Block, he was so low, got off at 22 HP. That was made perfection. But BQB has an opportunity, takes an Icicle to the gut. Still looking over the top. Valiant really low here. This is the problem when you're dealing with verticality and Lastro isn't actually on top of you.
Yeah, Lastro forced to push Cart there, so there's going to be a bit of a regroup here from McGravy. Oh, he's trying to poke, but he's so low. This is really risky by McGravy. He is going to be back, but the EMP finds 3. Is there any follow-up, though, for the Mayhem? So far, they haven't found any.
No, not at all. The Valiant, I mean, they're just cowering in the corner here, but it's fine. He's giving time to reset. Dreamer has a shot already. Flux being used. His finds BQB though in the middle of it. The Valiant up 1, and now look at Dreamer, just waiting for the shatter, wants the opportunity in the situation, gets hacked. Can't drop the shatter here just yet. The Valiant though, still very healthy. KSP over the top, decent sightline, shield comes up. Gangnam Jin with the fight. And now the Valiant, I mean, this is just strong pressure that the Mayhem are struggling with.
Yeah, this Rhine is just getting so much value. Dreamer in aggro swinging. KSF drops the May wall to deny any sort of recontest. Chris does find 1, but I don't think you're going to be able to get back into this fight. So the Valiant, the rush comp pays off big time. I think it's a little bit tough on first point. I'm really impressed they managed to win that fight with no ultimates. But on second point, I think this rush comp is actually really strong. So now the Valiant, they've got a bit of a wave to ride here. Coalescence and Beat Drop available. So despite the Mayhem's comp being, I think, a little bit more optimal in these big open sight lines, it is possible that a Sound Barrier, Speed Boost, and Maywall is just too much to answer here.
Well, I think part of it is that even if you're not enabling your Widow as much, you're just trying to win with the other 5 players, right? Take the fight early and often, keep the Mayhem off guard, and so far it's working, and part of it is that KSF has had great May plays so far. Infrasight, up, the Valiant, will be aggressive once more. They drop the Coal, they drop the Beat. You can't be more aggro than that. Going straight up the middle, but Dreamer falls! And still,
aggression is paying off,
damage
though.
might have been done. Yeah. You lose the Rhine, but you win the fight.
Lastro. Oh my gosh, this one is close, but I think they're getting it. The snowball continues to roll forward. However, it is quite costly. That costs an Infrasight, it costs them both support ultimates, which are really the critical ultimates for this rush comp that allow them to stay alive in a long fight. KSF needs to find the perfect blizzard here, but I imagine Yaki's just going to come in, and this EMP is going to be felt like a ton of bricks because everyone is all grouped up right now for the Valiant.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, right? When you're running the sword composition, everyone grouped together. It's a Sombra's Dream, hits 5! And Dreamer and KSF immediately erased from existence.
Yeah, KSP on a flank angle there, but it's just too little too late, and Yaki is just toying with him. That is a little bit brutal right there by Yaki. No real risk there. If he dies, you don't care. So I actually kind of like that from Yaki, getting his head a little bit, and that's what you need because KSP has been popping heads throughout this entire series. Now on the Widowmaker, he's going up against Infrasight and Double Shield and a Sombra who can scout his position. So this really couldn't be a harder matchup right now for KSP. It's not really a fair duel.
It's not ideal in the least. But now the Valiant on the way through. Final fight opportunity. 23 seconds left remaining. KSF's going to start it out a little bit chilly. Drops a Blizzard to set the stage. EQB already down, but Dreamer gets caught in the flux. The Mayhem still pretty healthy. Transcendence now faded, but the Mayhem in good health. In control. Gargoyle, though, getting super low. Got chunked down. McGravy there in the finish. And the Valiant still in the fight. Even demeched. The Valiant's still working on it. They need to touch the payload. Now it's time to deal with fate as the Mayhem try and wait for respawns.
Just how do you kill this Orisa? I feel like this one's over, man. Unless they just peek into KSP. They do peek one, they lose Zen, but still, I just think, oh,
he gets another!
So that's how you kill the Orisa. Both supports down. Now Fate, his life might actually be in danger. It is missed. Oh, Dreamer is actually hacked as well, so can't hold shield.
He got
KSP delivers again! Another pick in this fight!
KSP just can't be stopped! 3 in the back as the Valiant were losing. KSP himself winning. Does enough, gets gotten up Jin another time. And the Valiant, they're gonna push this into the end. Oh man, that's crazy.
Oh my word. How did this Los Angeles Valiant squad snatch that win away? That looked completely desperate. Fate holding so strong on Cart. Looked like there was no chance he could die. And then KSP just drops a quick triple kill. All headshots, no problem. I mean, come on. This guy, I talked about the 5th gear. That could have been a caster curse. In this case, I was exactly right. I mean, he just went Super Saiyan, just shut them down in a fight that frankly, Mayhem should win that 9 times out of 10, maybe 99 times out of 100. You know, you have the defender spawn advantage. You've got an Orisa strong on Cart. You know, the attackers have low numbers. There's really not many advantages that you don't have on the side of the Florida Mayhem. The one thing they don't have is KSP, who apparently makes all the difference in the world in those fights.
I mean, he got both supports, and you know, you're just posing the question of how do you kill this Orisa? This Orisa is invincible. Well, when you completely cut off the flow of healing, even Orisa in all her glory, dancing around her shield, using Fortify, you know, she becomes mortal at that point. And KSP did exactly what was necessary for the Valiant, performing above and beyond all expectations. You know, even with that sort of performance, it doesn't end up with any time left in remaining, but given the situation, just finishing the map at all is just nuts.
Well, I mean, capping Havana is great. Like, overtime is really hard to do on this map. Getting 3rd point finish is really hard to do on this map. So, Valiant, they're going to go for the spawn camp here. This could pay off big time, or it could be heavily punished. It's kind of on the Florida Mayhem side to find a pickoff running this BAP Zen. They have a lot of damage, but they're very vulnerable to aggression. I'd like to switch over to McCree, though. BKB just rolls out on the flank, and nobody's looking at him.
That's a good start. Just establish dominance on McCree game, punish the Valiant for being at spawn, but you know, I think the wisdom in this here for the Valiant is they might have expected to lose this fight here, Jake, but because they finished out the map to all of your points before, now they're just looking to drain the payload, where you can do this pretty effectively. Even if you lose fights, if you lose well, you can put yourself in a great spot here in Havana.
You can, but I am a little bit more worried for them now. I actually love this by KSP to switch back onto the Widowmaker because BQB is always going to have the advantage in these brawl-based fights because he's able to just sit behind 2 shields. Now that Widow's in play, KSP can come from an off angle, can be totally solo flanking and maybe find some pickoffs.
Dreamer's getting focused really hard, immediately taken down. The Mayhem had one clear plan there and is blow up the Rhine. And now BQB, so much space to work with, any sightline he wants, and this should potentially be point A here for the Mayhem. I don't think the Valiant have a whole lot left in the tank.
Lastro Coling keeping this one at least in contention there. He does find one pickoff, but is that enough here? Amp Matrix goes down. Dreamer's now going to be hiding in the corner, but Gargoyle obviously doesn't want to give him a moment's respite. Flashed as well by BQB. This Rhine is just taking heat.
Yeah, there's really nowhere for Dreamer to go there. You just saw the panic and how Dreamer was moving. They are forcing Mayhem to invest more ultimates here, though, and that's a decent part at the very least. Even as the Valiant, they're just getting bullied around here. KSF falls. You see the pressure onto KSP, and man of miracles, but nothing was saving that.
Yeah, Orisa good hero, ZP. Orisa press fortify, Orisa kill you all. You know, we've seen the story time and time again. It's really hard to play this rush comp, especially when you have the Widowmaker. I like the Widow pick because I think you actually just need pickoffs to win, realistically. Like, I'm not sure if you can actually take Florida in a damage trade, regardless of the Mei wall. Like, they're just going to bust through it, and how do you kill a fortified Orisa in 1 or 2 seconds before the Mei wall is broken, the drone comes down, and a lot of ultimates now on the table for the Florida Mayhem. They are dealing with an infra-sighted KSP, which is something that you better be respecting at this point in the series.
Also, Bloodless the Dreamer goes for the Shatter. Fortunately, it's not quite enough to take down the entire team. They get Chris off it, but the man had a really good disengage. Gangnam Jin was able to use a Transcendence, but KSP got to the side, got BQB, and the Valiant, they turned the ball through even then.
Yeah, McGravy put his life on the line there, but the rest of the team managed to capitalize on the distraction. He found one, and the rest of the team just charged forward to clean up. Nice work by Dreamer, not only with the Shatter, but backing off enough to reset his health, come back in and again for another pickoff with the charge. So really nice work by the Valiant, and now they've actually secured themselves a pretty strong position. BQB going to switch back to the Widow to take the duel, but Valiant, they've got this perfect setup. Everyone in the high grounds fully surrounding these attackers.
I also really like the Mei here. The Mei drains the clock, and for this point in particular, the walls are really effective.
Yeah, it's going to be an early call, but blocked for the most part by Yaki's Mei wall. Should just be a bit of an ulti trade. I don't think anybody is going to die in this situation unless KSP or BQB can pop off.
Well, now the Mayhem, they decided to go forward. They wait for the pull to end. Gargoyle drops the flux, but the beat's going to be there immediately for Rain. McGravy looking to blow some things up, drops self-destruct. The Valiant still pretty healthy, but oh no, Dreamer caught out. Yaki falls on the other end, but the Valiant now down the Rhine that was about to get Shatter, and the Mayhem trying to just work the positional side of things here. The Valiant, though, still pretty healthy as they try and rotate back around, Jake, but it's tough. The Mayhem are everywhere.
It's such a wild brawl, but without the Rhine, that is the hero you needed in that exact moment, as you said. So ultimately, I think when BQB finds the pickup on the KSP, there's no way you're winning that fight with spawn disadvantage, but you are definitely burning the clock down. So time to work with not really an excess here for the Florida Mayhem. They need to win this fight cleanly. I think if they get reset at this point, the Valiant are in a really dominant position to close out the map. So Florida, this moment, it has to be perfect. And they are aided, though, by an infra-sight. This makes it so hard to recontest.
Yeah, the Valiant, they're going to wait. They're definitely going to go for it on the payload. And Dreamer, even if it's one person, Dreamer will be happy with that as a Shatter. You look towards Dreamer right now. There's not going to be a lot of kill. KSP out of the fight. And now Dreamer really must get a good Shatter to go with this Blizzard. But he's getting focused down. Dreamer in a tough spot. Able to get healed back up, though. BQB out of the fight. The Shatter comes down. Gargoyle
Shatter
down on the ground. And the Valiant, they turn it around.
Incredible stuff. Love that from McGravy. Once his Widow goes down, he knows somebody has to stop BQB from just carving up the rest of the team. So great work by McGravy to focus down that enemy Widow, keep the fight in contention. And this is what a scenario I just talked about, ZP. Now you're in real trouble for the Florida Mayhem. They committed everything to that fight, and I think that was a wise decision because that's the fight they really needed to win. Now you only have the Gravitic Flux, and so far, to be honest, Gargoyle hasn't gotten the most out of this ultimate. So this is the time to really change that around, and now it's the infra-sight in the other team's hands, though KSP has been deadly without it. What can he do with wall hacks in the entire enemy team?
I mean, if nothing else, it's going to be delaying the Mayhem. I mean, the Mayhem only have a minute left, and they really have to wait out the infra-sight here, Jake. They don't want any part of that, and that gives the Valiant even more time in this situation. This is so tough for the Mayhem.
Yeah, it really is. And now the push direction is a little bit telegraphed here. I like that Florida are just taking it slow and steady. You want to re-clear these angles. Don't get early picked by KSP. That would only stall you more. You got to play this fight smart.
The Valiant, though, they were looking to go a little bit aggressive there. Yeah. And now look at this Widow on the side. BKB doesn't want any part of KSP, but good reason. Dreamer gets caught on the other end. You don't have to take the Widow on even terms right now. You can be backed up by your team. Finds KSP as he was trying to reposition, and that was smart stuff for the Mayhem. Just back out, focus on Dreamer, and the Rhine threat is gone.
And the Valiant, they're trying to stay alive in the backline. Both supports still online. Might need a Cole, but the halt is just too much there. I don't think Cole would have made any difference at all. Lastro is going to commit. They need to pick up these backliners. Chris, Gangnam Jin, they have to stay alive.
I think Lastro's going to swap here. The Valiant are throwing the last little bit of ults that they have in on this fight. They know it's going against them, and I think there's a comp swap potential, although Dreamer swapped back to the Rhine, so we'll see. It's interesting using Cole there if they weren't planning on swapping.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just trying to go all in and trying to maybe force some ultis out, but the Florida, they're so cool, calm, and collected in the clutch. You know, we talked about KSP being a clutch player. Well, all of the Florida Mayhem have that calm energy because I think a lot of lesser players there would have just popped their ults out of pure fear. But Mayhem, they knew they were in control of that fight. Overtime didn't matter to them. Maywall on a Dreamer, he's totally isolated. McGravy comes in to help his buddy, though.
You gotta look at the Blizzard game right now. Both Mays looking to make it frosty. KSF on one side. Now he drops a Blizzard, needs it just to give Dreamer a little bit of breathing room here. It got super, super low, but the Mayhem, everyone's still warm and ready to go, and KSF falling early. The flux from Gargoyle, that's the flux we've been waiting for, Jake. You called for it earlier, and this time it came out.
Oh, BQB, what a shot on the Rain. That was filthy, but KSP answers right back. So the card here, I don't think those picks matter too much because it is going to be mostly a reset for both teams, but now BQB is going to have to re-clear some pretty dangerous angles. But, I mean, Rain even dropped the beat there onto Dreamer, and the Ryan still went down in the flux. So just incredible focus fire from the Florida Mayhem. Mirrored Intrasights now, so no secrets. Everybody knows what's coming, and honestly, I think that favors the Mayhem, though, because the Rush comp does rely on a bit of surprise, catching out the enemy.
He's going to let the Yaki set up the Blizzard here. He was able to save it in the last fight. BQB is looking for KSP. Either Widow getting a pickoff would be huge. And the Rain down! That's a big one. The Valiant going to be a whole lot less mobile now. And look to Yaki, the Blizzard still in reserve. BQB gets another. The Valiant starting to crumble. The payload moving forward. And now the Blizzard ably dropped just on the payload. Someone on the Valiant has to touch it, but it's frosty indeed. KSP though, it's BQB. Surely he can't do this again, Jake. Even as the Valiant fall one by one. KSP, he's taking down Gargoyle. Matters into his own hands. And this is looking like we're heading into extra rounds.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it's over until the slow-mo screen, you know, ever again with KSP in the server, but still, that one was pretty unwinnable. That pick by BQB was absolutely massive, so he stepped up big time on the Widow duel. And, you know, to go back to the intelligent plays that BQB has made, like, I love that moment when KSP offers up the Widow duel, and I like that from KSP. He wants to make an aggressive play there, take a risk because he knows his team's in trouble. But on the flip side, a lot of players, I think, would just take that fight, be like, oh, you know, on Widow, you know, it's such a like ego hero, you know, it's the only way I can describe it. Like, you need to have that incredible confidence in yourself. But for BQB to temper that for the moment and realize, okay, my team's winning the tank trade. We got that great Maywall out from Yaki. We're going to kill those tanks in the flank. I'm sure his team's communicating that they're winning over there. BQB rejects the duel and instead stays alive, wins that fight. Oh. And now coming back to this moment, oh my word, what a shot. Rain wanted some sort of big boop in there to set up his tank for success. But, I mean, with BQB's on fire like this.
You hit on a point I wanted to bring up there, though, is that, like, as good of a shot that is, that was pretty high-risk stuff coming in from Rain in that situation where, you know, if that pickoff doesn't happen, I think that fight is a lot harder, you know, inherently for the Mayhem. And I don't know if the hero play on Lucio is necessarily required there. I mean, I get to a degree why you go for it, but I do wonder if it would have been better to just hang on. Either way, though, 1 minute left for both teams. It's Escort, though, so we'll see just how far it can go.
And finally, the mirror match does come out here. Well, we saw this at the start of the game, to be fair, and that time it went pretty strongly in favor of the Florida Mayhem. So the Valiant, I do like that they're going to play this comp. I think the rush would just be a little bit too telegraphed here, and with 1 minute, it would just be kind of easy, I think, for the Florida Mayhem to just kite for something like a Batiste Matrix and just end the fight there. So I like the mirror match. Now it's back to BQB versus KSP. Really for the map, and at this point, though, it feels like it's for the series. The Valiant have a lot of momentum at this moment.
If you're the Mayhem, you want to shut this down now. You don't want the chaos of a map 5. But if you don't want it, you gotta stop the Valiant here. Don't let this turn into a crazy overtime push, because if it does, that's a hole you might not be getting out of. BQB on the Widow in the back, looking for his counterpart in KSP. So far, a little bit more charge. And the Valiant, they're setting up for that one good push now, Jake.
Yeah, Rain with the help of a Harmony Orb getting this high ground control with McGravy as well, but Mayhem, they want to just contest these tanks in the high ground. Look at this ice block from KSF. It's completely stifling them in the door, but I wonder whose way is this going to go? The card is moving the whole time.
McGravy out of the fight, though. BQB strikes. Still a decent spot. Pressure onto the Orisa. BQB, though, still has to be aware of where KSP is. Swapping sides. Looking. KSF and KSP down. Gangnam Jin deals with KSP. Gets rid of the threat. And the overtime ends here and now. That is a great defense for the Florida Mayhem.
It is a solid defense. I like the move to attack the high ground there and force the, you know, there's like all your 5 players there from the Mayhem. They're fighting just a few stragglers for the Valiant, but because the Valiant played so efficiently there, they used the ice block to block the doorway, as well as the May wall, so just maximizing the delay. McGravy lasted as long as humanly possible, and what that created was a situation where they moved the cart pretty far now. So this is pretty much the same thing as capping first point. That's about what you get now for the Valiant. So this match is very much in contention, and I think now the Valiant are just evaluating, do we play this rush comp again? I think they will get 2 fights if they go for it. However, the second one, if things go bad at the spawn like they did last time, I think you are in trouble with the Valiant. You do not want to let a player like BQB get his ideal setup. And, you know, I think just in general, re-pushing with this rush comp is going to be a little bit difficult on first.
I think the Valiant feel like they can get more out of the spawn camp than they did the last time around. I think that's the takeaway you have to have here if you're looking at the Valiant coming on this. And oh, wait a second. Are they going to go the spawn or are they going to do something sneakier? Okay, they're going the spawn. They're just trying to mask things to whatever degree possible. And we'll see if this time they hold on here at the front a little bit longer.
Dreamer says, yo, just letting him know he's not scared. I wonder if BQB will go back to the McCree. I love that pick here last time. But the spawn camp, it's one of those things that just goes fast or it doesn't go at all. But a lot of players make it out of the spawn. Rain, instant pick onto Chris. He does not get the immortality field off. Oh, that is exactly what you needed in the spawn camp.
Yeah, and this is a great start. It's a much better start than the Valiant had the last time they tried this. Already burning 20 seconds off the clock. The Mayhem, a full degree of swapping here. Now an ult advantage to the Valiant on top of it. This is exactly the beginning the Valiant wanted. Now the Mayhem, what's the response gonna be? KSP! One more time, takes down Gangnam Jin. The hero all series long, the flashbang over the top, and the Mayhem struggling to get out of spawn.
Oh no, this is exactly the nightmare scenario for the Florida Mayhem. They have one more chance here, but this is the hardest fight of them all. They're going up against Coalescence and Shatter, so Dreamer really going to be the one to lay this out. If shields break at any point, you are in real trouble. Cole comes out early. BKB's not even in the fight. Shatter finds one. It's enough though.
Enough to put Gangnam Jin out of the fight once more. KSP following through. Overtime ticking down. They're held at spawn. We go to map 5.
Oh, the confidence to go for the spawn camp a second time, ZP. This team has no mental breaking point. The Valiant can survive through anything. To go down 2-0 in the way that they did, where I was looking at this series as potentially locked up halfway through Volskaya. I thought this was going to be a quick 3-0. The Valiant, maybe they knew all along, maybe they believed all along, and I can see why, because now they've delivered the results. And now I think there's a lot of fans standing up in a lot of bedrooms cheering, because this one looks really dangerous now for the Florida Mayhem.
Yeah, and Volskaya might have been a microcosm of the entire series if the Valiant is able to complete the reverse sweep, because, again, I'm just going to flip back to Volskaya. That was a dominant map from the Mayhem to start things out. After the first rounds were settled, as you say, the Valiant looked done. They turn Volskaya all the way around, and then they do the same on Havana. It's the Mayhem on the back foot, and the Valiant are just one map away from completing that reverse sweep.
If this Los Angeles team can do it, I think this is going to be one of the biggest reverse sweeps we've seen in a long time in the regular season. Pretty insane performance from them. And we'll have to find out, though, can they finish it off? Will it be the heartbreaker from the Florida Mayhem, shutting it down on map 5? Remember, they did win the first control map, so series very much still in contention. Catch us after the break.
No one can hide from my sight. Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
The Valiant were down, but they definitely weren't out. At death's door, back on Volskaya, suddenly they turn things around and we're looking at a map 5. There's a lot of reasons for it, Jake, but again, one player comes to mind, KSP, playing out of his mind over and over again when the Valiant need it most.
It's the clutch scenarios. It's, think about that opening picks on their offense on Numbani, just, come out the gates, 2-tap the enemy combo. I mean, this game has been incredibly back and forth, and the maps that the Valiant have won have been hard fought, to say the least. These have been incredibly close, where I think the first 2 maps were pretty comfortable for the Mayhem. They won dominantly, but margin of victory does not matter here. It's all about getting those map wins. So the series stands at 2-2, and despite how close these comeback maps have been to the Valiant, they're on an even keel here to win the series. And I mean, with the momentum certainly that they're feeling at this moment, it's got to be now tough for the Mayhem to reclaim that. One thing they can look back to is their success on the first control map. So if that can be replicated, if we can just go back to basics, disregard, momentum and players feeling themselves, then we might favor the Mayhem. But I think generally that mental side of things is always going to have a huge impact, especially in a big match like this.
Well, I'm glad you referenced back to the first map, because we've talked a lot about the idea that the Valiant have had to really adapt with this hero pool, because they really liked running things like Genji Tracer. Of course, they haven't run Shax all series long, and now won't because we're on the final map. But the Valiant have had to adapt a lot more relative to the Mayhem. And you think about the Valiant's control strategy in the past. Control is where they have to adapt the most, Jake. And we'll see if there's a difference between map 1 and map 5, because if there isn't, it'll be the Mayhem stopping the reverse sweep attempt.
Yeah, exactly. And the Mayhem, I mean, certainly they're not a team I think that will crumble easily either. You really cannot have that status and be a top 4 team in the Overwatch League. So I do think that they're going to come out firing on all cylinders. It is really up to the Valiant to step it up here, come out stronger on this Koth round. However, we will be seeing, once again, that full mirror match. Honestly, the player I have my eyes on right now is KSF. Can he have a better performance on this Sombra in particular? Find more openings, survive a little bit longer, and just step it up a little bit, because I'm pretty confident KSP is going to be delivering.
Yeah, I think the Sombra play definitely a little bit more taxing on KSF in this control situation. The Valiant right now going to be Dreamer taking a bit of a breather, but while Dreamer's out of the fight, the Mayhem decide to go in and make things a little bit more difficult here for the Valiant. Dreamer, though, back in, and the counter engage, putting Florida a little bit low. The Valiant looking to push back into the Mayhem. Gargoyle and Fate very low right now. BQB under fire, has to back. KSP eats some poke at the same time, but still finds Yaki in the back.
Oh, Yaki tried to commit for that kill, but Rain was right there beside his hit scan partner. KSP managed to get it done on the enemy Sombra, and I mean, that's enough to end the fight right there. KSF, he played the consistent performance. That's what I asked for, right? He's close to this EMP, going to be one of those early ultimates for his team, and Yaki dying like that means he's going to be far behind. So the Valiant right now, the momentum is certainly surging. I can totally imagine them getting pretty hype right now in the comms. Just got to keep it cool, calm, and collected, because you have the ultimate advantage here.
The Mayhem have to take down KSP. There's no other way about it. He is the player that is just ruining them. A little bit of an assist from Lastro at the same time. Lastro, Nano onto Dreamer. Dreamer creating the space. But what is KSP doing while Dreamer is sitting here forcing the Mayhem back? McGravy uses the mech, but Fate is down early. Bob in from KSP, and that's going to give McGravy a little bit of space.
Yeah, that's exactly, it's like just a perfect timing right there for McGravy. He can kind of step back from the tank roll for a moment, get his suit back. But man, they're looking to re-aggress here. It's going to be KSF's EMP that has to shut them down. And oh no, this is looking like a huge one.
KSF drops the EMP, and BQB immediately down. Dreamer was right there with the jump in, as the Mayhem just find themselves getting forced back. And they invest the Nano here. They think that they can turn around. The Veld KSF, Fate into the back, slept by Lastro. Pretty easy sleep there, but still important to hit, as the Valiant continue to keep control at this point.
EMP means McGravy, he cannot use his self-destruct here, so Mayhem, they really need the flip now, but both their tanks are so low. Gargoyle survives on a sliver, but KSP cuts off the healing.
KSP, though, does fall for it. BQB caught him while he was looking at the Ana, and the Mayhem finally on to the point. They get their first flip, but the Valiant, what a great start, 79% to 5.
Yeah, they're definitely in a commanding lead here on this Koth round. Only tank ultimates available for the Florida Mayhem, which these are really impactful ultimates in this mirror comp. However, I think they're a little bit harder to utilize when you don't have follow-up from one of your other ultimates, right? Both tank ultimates at the same time can be a bit of anti-synergy, primal plus self-destruct. It's hard to utilize those at the same time. I think it's up to Fate really to start this fight off, disrupt the setups from the enemy team.
Dreamer in, Nano out. Blastro is under pressure in the back, got hacked, but all this is going on. BQP punishes KSF. The Mayhem still a full 6, so the Dreamer Nano just about done. Primal not at all ready. Is Dreamer just wondering, okay, where's the health going to be coming from here in this situation? The Valiant got the flip, though, as this goes on, so even as the Mayhem take the fight, I mean, the power of winning the fight a little bit muted.
Maybe. I mean, they did get some more point control for Valiant, so they do find themselves in this final fight scenario. However, it did cost them a Bob and a Nano to do it, whereas Florida won that fight with only the Primal. BQB takes a headshot, though. Ooh, thanking his lucky stars that Rain wasn't on damage boost right there.
Valiant, they want this round here and now. BQB sending Dreamer to the sky. Dreamer so close, that Primal falls! Doesn't get the Primal in time! What a key window for the Florida Mayhem! And that very well could have been the round.
Dreamer just got destroyed by BQB, conked up into the air, perfect tracking with the left click, then immediately picked up by Bob as well. Wow, that fight looked like there's no way Dreamer wasn't going to get his primal. I'm sure that's what he thought, jumping in so aggressively. Now the Mayhem, though, find themselves in their toughest spot yet. Massive ultimate economy lead here for the Valiant. All they need is one fight, as long as it's pretty clean. Oh, and that's a huge EMP from KSF. Both tanks caught.
Yeah, Fate couldn't get away. No leap, no problem for the Valiant. Now up 1. And no for the Mayhem, they have a little bit of time here, Jake, if they do disengage, but not much as KSP does it again and again. Now 90% the Mayhem are in tough straits indeed.
Yeah, and just to highlight there, the hack from KSF meant Gargoyle couldn't pop his self-destruct till he contested point. Fate's gonna go in, but he's in basically a 1v6 scenario here. Dreamer gonna be zapping the front line as Fate trying to touch point. He cannot do it. And the Valiant, they find themselves on series point. CP, who could have possibly guessed that we'd be here halfway through Volskaya? Certainly not I.
All right, now the Valiant, they're getting the brooms out. They're getting ready to start moonwalking because this is very close to happening. The Mayhem, who were once so dominant in this series, things turned on Volskaya and they've simply accelerated for the Valiant ever since. This would be a wild result, especially for a team like the Mayhem that wanted to just add a little bit more to the stat line even after they've secured top 4.
Well, the Valiant now, you know, they've shown that they have the composure to survive when they're down. Now the question is, can they control this energy that they're surely feeling, right? You know, tension is so high at this moment. You're really feeling yourself. But you have to continue to play smart. You have to continue to play calculated, especially in this dive comp where things can go really wrong really quickly. So this series does rest on a nice edge here on Ilios well.
The Valiant now looking for the opening. KSP again playing some big damage. BQB a little bit less on the other end. And look at this just wall of pressure coming out from KSP here as the Mayhem look to just attack this from a different angle, but BQB finds KSF. That's a huge opening for the Mayhem, and now the Valiant do need to give a little bit of ground, but KSP finds the save, and KSP does far more! KSP! Just when the Valiant need it most, he's there every single time!
Come on, this guy is too good. And look at this cleanup from Dreamer. He's eating them up, getting that primal rage charge. Gargoyle's about to get demacked, and I have to imagine they're going to leave him here. No, they want the finish. No, they're going to leave him low HP. Love it.
Mayhem, you were once so far ahead, but the fall might be deeper than the well you're looking at your screen right now. The Valiant take the first control, and I'm not sure it gets any better for Florida.
Yeah, Gargoyle, he's going to be delaying the push just by a little bit, getting this mech back, but luckily for him, he managed to survive. Massive ultimate economy lead here, though, and KSP on the high ground. Oh, an early pick would be so devastating at this moment.
KSP. Oh! Right there! Unbelievable! One shot boosted down! Oh! Perfection!
Just disgusting for fans of FPS around the world. You can't argue with shots like that. KSP. This guy is so sharp. He certainly wants this series win. Doesn't matter to him. You're behind, you're ahead, you're closing out the reverse sweep, you're starting the reverse sweep. He's here for all of it. And the Mayhem are just in shambles now. You've got Yaki's EMP to rally around, which, you know, is charged a little bit faster than KSF, which, you know, honestly, I can't blame KSF for this. I mean, KSP just kills everybody. Like, who do I charge EMP on? Like,
he is the absolute raid boss. It's not a Nano Brigida. It's just KSP existing in our plane. 77% for the Valiant, 0 for the Mayhem. The series on the line. Gangnam Jin, early Nano, and KSP's down. They've dealt with the beast, Jake. He's out of the fight.
yeah, and Rain was hacked as well while Valking, so couldn't get the res off, couldn't survive. And this is actually textbook Florida Mayhem. Even in the situation where it looks like they're about to get reverse swept, they have the composure to take that fight with a minimal ultimate commitment. So beautiful work by them, even when the series looks so dire and we're so focused on the momentum that the Valiant have. Florida Mayhem continue to play smart. They continue to have that cool, calm, and collected energy that you need to come back in this final map. But it's a long road to the comeback. Valiant find themselves on final fight here. It's all about these EMPs. Yaki, he's been consistent so far.
Oh!
It's a good pick. Should get res though.
Yeah, the res is going to be there, but that's what BQB needs to do. The Mayhem will avoid the brooms and somehow bring this round back. The Valiant still one fight away, Jake, from completing the reverse sweep. And here comes Dreamer. Leaps in. Early Primal, doesn't even wait to get low. There's an EMP in response to KSP down again. The Mayhem know where the Valiant spread is buttered, and they're going for it.
Still fighting. KSF, he's probably thinking about whether to EMP. Looks like he wants to drop it here. Comes in, finds the whole backline here, but not Fate. Fate still has the power rage ready.
Valiant still in there, but KSF taking down BQB, coming alive. And the Mayhem, can this be happening, Jake? Can they avoid the Grizzly Fates in front of them?
Looks like they're on their way, at least to forcing a map 3, but not over just yet. Although Valiant, they expended everything there. I think KSF regretting that EMP commitment because now they have nothing, and it's Bob plus Nano Boost. I don't think Bob is the biggest issue here. You've got Sleep Dart, you've even got Sombra who can just hack the Bob, so you've got the counterplay here. But the question is, those are the same counterplays that you need to deal with a Nanoed Fate. So where are you going to put your resources? Into the Bob or into the Nano Winston? There's no good answers here. Fate hacked early though, that could be good.
Start here for the Valiant, but Grave again over aggro, the punish off the Nano from Fate. And now the Valiant, they're not gonna have time for a full reset. 92% for the Mayhem, and that could just be it. A round 3 in the works.
The Valiant, they came so close to winning this map, to solidifying the reverse sweep. It's not over yet, but this fight looks really desperate. McGravy hacked on the recontest as well. Bob just to hold down the point.
That's Primal.
Primal. Could he do it?
Has to be big. He was looking for the environmentals, perhaps. Had the bounce back. KSF out of the fight. BQB looking to be the rock the Mayhem needs. The bomb over the top from Gargoyle takes down KSP. And the pressure onto the Ash Baby. Dreamer in the back. Another 2. The Valiant on the verge of flipping it. McGravy rolling around on the ball. The Valiant continue. They flip the point. And now it's the Mayhem in danger. Dreamer, Fate, both down. Winston's out of the fight. But the Valiant in control. Overtime in progress. McGravy with 2 in the back. The Valiant, they end it here and now. The reverse sweep is complete.
I can't believe they won that fight of all the fights. I mean, we talked about KSP being this reliable clutch player. He got shut down instantly that fight. The self-destruct took him out of the game. He did not really accomplish any damage at all. It was actually Dreamer and McGravy who have really been living that self-sacrifice life this entire series long, playing the rush comps. McGravy even dropped 15 deaths in the chat. I mean, that's the life of playing Diva in rush comp. You're gonna get focused. By May, you're gonna die constantly, but it all pays off in the end, and what a beautiful final way to finish it off. Instead of KSP, who's been dominating all series long, his team steps up to carry the weight. Dreamer with the Nano Boost in the corner of Ilio as well. And the Valiant, I think they almost can't believe their own luck there. I mean, I shouldn't even call it luck. This is incredible dominance. This is mental fortitude to be able to come back in the most dire of straits, still having strong performances, and then to manage the energy and close out the last map 2-0, even in some rounds where the Mayhem were really fighting back. This is just an incredible series. The Los Angeles Valiant have to be really proud of their performance today.
And again, it all goes back to Volskaya, where normally if you're going to have a reverse sweep, usually it's just a full-on sweep from beginning to end where every map goes well. But the Valiant were very, very close to being ended on Volskaya. And somehow, some way, they reversed course. They had a much better attack than they did the first time around, a much better defense, and they hold the Mayhem back. And they just got stronger and stronger over the course of the series. They fought back against the destiny that was in front of them, and they end up with the reverse sweep and what has to be a gigantic blow to the Mayhem. But that does bring us to our player of the match presented by Xfinity. And everyone at home should know the answer. It's KSP.
We talked about some other options. We're discussing other players on the Valiant that have had great moments. But, I mean, if you just look at the totality of the series, the maps where Mayhem won at the start, KSP still having great performance, and then so many critical comeback moments. This point on Havana, I mean, I called this over, essentially. I thought there was just no way they could take down Fate. Well, KSP just jumped right past that obstacle, shuts down the entire backline on his own, really. Not really any support here, just 3 clean headshots from the Widowmaker. So many clutch fights from him, opening duels, so many moments to look back on in this series, and just thank your lucky stars that you scouted and signed this guy. So props to the coaching staff for the Valiant. I think they can give themselves a fair pat on the back here. Oh, I just absolutely love this moment on Numbani. I mean, just come on. These are not easy shots either. First peak, 2 shots, 2 kills. I mean, you can't be mercy boosting this guy. Like, it's not fair, man. Just heal him or something. You gotta take some of that power away.
Yeah, it was absolutely nuts. And look, I hear some out there that might be going, but Lastro, and look, I think Lastro was magnificent. And under most games, I would say Lastro's MVP. Not this time. You must respect greatness, and the highlights that KSP put out were just legendary. And it's what the Valiant needed to somehow reverse course in the series where the Mayhem were otherwise playing really good, solid Overwatch. I mean, this was just such a comeback from the Valiant and just an unexpected great series when you thought it was over.
Yeah, I love the storylines in this match too, because as much as we talk about KSP having these superstar moments on the hit scan that are just so memorable and obvious, when I think back on the series, I think of all the moments where the team came together for crucial moments of success. Whether it was KSF making the switch to the May in the final seconds of a Havana push that looked like it was going to end on .1 offense, right? It just looked like they were completely stifled there. And KSF's perfect May wall set the team up for success. Dreamer and McGravy going for that full self-sacrifice role in the rush comp. You're not really going to be getting a ton of damage, getting a ton of kills, but you are just doing what your team needs you to accomplish in those moments. And the teamwork is on such a high level for this Valiant squad. If there is one team that, you know, standings be damned, could make a reverse sweep, or sorry, not reverse sweep, can make a real dark horse story come to playoffs, beating teams above them in the seeding, I think it is Los Angeles Valiant. I think of all teams, if you're a high-seeded team, you don't want this team early in playoffs. You know, they are certainly a bunch of loose cannons. You know, you don't know what they're going to pull out. Some strats you haven't seen before, but with confidence, with conviction, and with incredible skill to boot. So for this Valiant squad, I think they should really be celebrating right now. This is a well-deserved and absolutely massive victory. A reverse sweep. There's not really any better feelings as a competitive player, I think, than, you know, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. It truly is one of those great moments you look forward to. So just incredible props to this Valiant side across the board, firing on all cylinders. It was a real team effort here today, and they pulled it out.
And also, you look at the standings, and we talk about, yeah, you don't want to face the Valiant if you're a top-seed team. You might not have to. You look at where they are in the standings right now. The Reign better be watching their back because, you know, prior to today, I think a lot of people would have had the Mayhem over the Valiant and, you know, go, okay, the Valiant could drop as low as 8. Well, now the Valiant could very well end up as top 5, and that is a huge difference, a very crucial win for the Valiant here today to get that, to go up in the standings. But you know what? We've talked enough here. We got to talk to who's almost the unofficial spokesperson here for the Valiant. That's right. We got Zoe with, of course, McGravy.
Thank you so much, guys. And yeah, let's just make him the official spokesperson for now. McGravy, congratulations on that reverse sweep.
Thank you so much. I'm still shaking.
So am I, honestly. Watching it was just equally as nerve-wracking as playing it, or maybe not equally, but pretty close. So let's discuss what happened. You were down 0-2 at half. What was the conversation in the imaginary dugout like? What was your game plan coming into that second half?
The biggest thing for us was that our tempo was really slow on the first 2 maps. Like, they were playing the slower Winston Sigma comp, and they were still jumping on us first and not getting punished. So the biggest thing for us was saying, like, hey, like, we need to be more aggressive. Like, we need to punish this monkey more. Like, my job, like, strictly was just sit on the monkey and like almost the entire game. And we made those adjustments and worked out great.
So coming into this match in general, what what was the takeaway from previous matches from the Mayhem? Did you get to scout something? Did you come in with something very specifically prepared for them?
No. I think we ended up watching Seoul play this dive comp that we had played a lot, and we realized that a lot of teams were going to pick up on it, and it was something we were comfortable playing, and we figured it was good for all of our players. So it wasn't anything tailored specifically towards Mayhem, just what was comfortable for us, and yeah, that's it.
Well, it worked out, so that's all that really matters. Now, looking at your team and comfort level in general, how do you feel about the hero pool for this week and next week?
Obviously, with Shaxx on our roster, we prefer to have the Tracer in, but we're pretty happy with it. We're not big on the Brig. I don't think a lot of people are, so I think it's a good one for us, minus the Tracer. But yeah, if we continue what we did today, and to keep the tempo up and keep the aggression up and the confidence, like we beat anybody.
But honestly, that was just absolutely fantastic to witness that reverse sweep. Thank you so much for putting up such a show for everyone watching, and once more, congratulations on that reverse sweep.
Thank you so much.
We're now heading into a very quick break, and afterwards we are back with the next game, which will be played out between the Vancouver Titans and the Atlanta Reign, so don't go anywhere.